What up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Santa Cruz Medicinals Radio. We have Dr. Abood Bakri back in the house. Let's go. Last episode was very peptide focused, which we're going to get into some of the peptide stuff. I ran some blood work with you. I got accused of doing steroids by Greg Doucette, and clomiphene, shall I say. And so, yeah, let's dive into it. Well, I want to touch on what we were just talking about before we hit record, which is sunlight. So there's this prevailing wisdom that sunlight is bad, basically, and that if you go out in the sun, the mainstream government recommendation is you shouldn't really go in the sun uncovered or without a chemical-based sunscreen on.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that not something as a doctor that you hold to be true?
Yeah, I think because that's just a very unnuanced take. We definitely need a certain amount of sunlight per day on our skin, as evidenced by the fact that everybody's deficient in vitamin D. And the greatest studies that we have that are not that impressive, they don't show a benefit to taking supplemental vitamin D that you would get from sunlight. Like the sunlight vitamin D and oral vitamin D, because that's the biggest thing people will tell you. Like, just take vitamin D in the capsule. Why do you need
Sunlight is better.
from the sun?
Why is sunlight better?
So it seems that vitamin D is just a proxy for how much sunlight you're getting. So there's a certain amount of vitamin D that you need. Like if you're too low, you're gonna get rickets in kids and all these crazy diseases. But in the low normal to normal range, it seems that vitamin D isn't just telling you how much vitamin D you have. It's really an average of how much sunlight you're getting. And that's why we have like these studies where people have higher vitamin D levels are healthier. The question is it just the vitamin D itself, or is it the fact that they've gotten total sunlight exposure from UVA to UVB to infrared? So as a cumulative sum, sunlight is important. It's good for you, for vitamin D production, for nitric oxide synthesis, for circadian rhythmicity, for red light itself on mitochondrial function, and how your ATP spin. So there's a big issue in just saying no sunlight and then no UV exposure. I think some people take it also too far and they end up burning. And they're you see those people that have like the velvet skin on the beach.
Sure.
They're because there's something called UVB addiction. You ever heard of this one?
No.
People get when you get UV light on your skin, you get this protein called POMC, POMC. It gets translated, and POMC has a bunch of different fragments that come out of it. One of them is ACTH, so that makes you make more cortisol. This would be a good thing to get you more alert. Another one would be MSH. That's the tanning hormone that makes your skin tanner, but also increases sexual libido. That's why there's that PT-141 peptide. It takes advantage of MSH.
Yeah, we're going to get into that too.
Yeah. That's a good one. And then it makes beta endorphins. So you actually make endorphins in response to sunlight.
For sure.
So then people get addicted to UV light. So that you could overdo it. What I tell people is that there's a dose of sunlight for your skin tone and your ethnicity that is appropriate.
Yeah.
And less than that's not good. More than that's not good. And there's a Goldilocks zone. And it depends on what your Fitzpatrick skin tone is.
Yeah, and I feel like I've learned, over time, what that is for me, and I have a good sense of how much sunlight I can get to give my body a beautiful tan and glow and feel really good, but not get burnt.
Right.
And for me, it's a decent amount. Like you're saying, my mom's side is Indian, so they have that, and then my dad's side's Irish German. So I get this weird mix where I can't bake in midday sun.
Right.
In San Diego, or when I go on my Mexico trips, I have to be a little careful. But for the most part, mid-morning sun, I loved it. That's I'm naked in my backyard, in the morning, and then in the mid-morning, and then I try to get some sunset sun in. Right. And what is sunlight doing to us from a hormonal perspective? What are some things? Sun hits your skin, and then what are some of the hormonal effects that we get there?
Yeah, so a number of them, and it depends what time of the day we're talking about, and what part of the skin. For example, you just mentioned you go butt naked in the backyard. Let's zoom in there on your scrotum. Your scrotal skin is very rich in the enzyme 5-alpha reductase. That's the enzyme that produces DHT. So there's a study actually done, I think in the 1930s, this might have been done, where they got a UV lamp and would shine it on different parts of people's bodies, their back, their chest, and their scrotum, and they would see almost a 3x increase in a hormone called androsterone. It's a metabolite of testosterone. You get testosterone to DHT, to androstenediol, to androsterone, and you had a 3x increase when they would shine UV light on the scrotum.
Wow.
And they didn't, unfortunately, measure testosterone during that study. So the question is, does that increase testosterone or not? But it does increase androsterone, which is a testosterone metabolite. So they're assuming that there might have been a testosterone boost from that. So just that alone, you can tell that UV light is a very powerful intervention. Now, generally in the skin, and when sunlight hits your body, you have 3 to 4 different things you want to look at. Number one, let's look at the visible spectrum. So when blue light hits your skin and your eyes, you get an activation of a receptor called melanopsin. It's a non-visual photoreceptor that tells your body to wake up. It turns on all your systems that are associated with wakefulness and daytime alertness. The problem with modern lighting is that it's not optimized for triggering melanopsin. You want a wavelength that's like 450 to 480. In that range. Modern lights like your phone, your laptop are really rich in 430 nanometer lights.
Gotcha. So the whole thing of when people were like, well, blue light could be good in the morning to stimulate cortisol. No, blasting your phone in a dark room and just turning the brightness up in the morning is not going to get you the same effects of going outside, even if it's cloudy.
Yes, you do want blue light in the morning, but you never want that uncoupled from red light. Never in nature can you get blue light without red light.
And that's where a lot of these studies are done on sunlight. They blast rats with blue light and they go, look what happened.
Yeah, they blast rats that are athymic and nude. So they have no thymus. We talked about the thymus a little bit last podcast. They have very bad immune system. They are nude, so they have no hair. So they have no protection from the sun. And then they get cancers. It's like, okay, well, those aren't really great studies. And melanoma is the biggest cancer that people are concerned about. It's unclear, actually, if increased UV exposure is actually associated with increased melanoma. It might be the opposite, that melanoma patients have low vitamin D levels.
Yeah.
There is probably a likely association between basal cell carcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas. These are the like they're still cancers, so they're still concerned about them, but they're not as risky as melanoma. And those are probably increased with sun exposure. There's a debate, is it the sun? Is it the blue light? What is it that's driving these? But those are like easily taken care of. You go to your dermatologist, they shave it off or they freeze it off and you're fine. So it's not like that big of a concern to give up all the benefits of sunlight. We talk about the blue. Red and infrared light will penetrate. We're going to skip green and orange. All these. They have a bunch of effects that haven't been fully elucidated. There's like a big study now about green light and migraines.
Okay.
That there's a thought that green lights might be beneficial there. But red and infrared don't have a good receptor in the body. So they actually penetrate through your body. So if I shine a red light through you, it would go hit the wall over there and bounce around and do all these things. And it seems to change the way the mitochondria and the water around the mitochondria behave. And there's a podcast with Dr. Huberman recently about that. That was really fantastic. So better mitochondrial function from infrared light. That's why people are doing red light therapy for their face, their collagen. They're getting beneficial effects for mental function and all these things. And there's a study that came out last week which showed that blue light alone caused a reduction in visual perception, but that would be rescued if you added red light back in.
Interesting. So this full spectrum light basically that we're getting from our star in the sky, the sun. So with like the red light stuff that's getting really popular, do you think this is just coming from like, okay, like I hurt my ankle and people are like, put red light on it, of course. And do you think this just comes from the mitochondrial aspects? And this is why you're seeing a lot of published research on eye health, maybe because we just have a lot of mitochondria in our eyes, but this is a benefit for every organ system because you have mitochondria
everywhere.
And if it's going to improve the function of the mitochondria, then that's why red light has all these benefits.
And like there's the question of what are the benefits of red light as it stands on its own, and then what are the benefits that you're getting by undoing some of the damage of all the blue you're under.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So you have to like uncouple those two things, because if you're in the office all day, you're not getting any red light. Because before you'd have incandescent bulbs, which would be mostly red and infrared on their spectrum. Now you don't get that. LEDs or have no infrared light in them. At night you'd have a fire or candles that have infrared light. Now you don't get that exposure. So now you're getting this alien environment. It's just like you always talk about processed food and crumble cookies. LED lights are the crumble cookies of lighting.
100%.
That's the way to
Dude,
think
at
about it.
my other house, I mean, finally, like my wife a little begrudgingly on this last light fixture we have, like it's all these Huga lights in there, and like the house like looks like completely like a different like color now. And like I'm up at the sauna looking down at it. Like I have like the red light room in one room, and then like all these Huga lights. It just looks like so different. It's actually really shitty for like filming stuff. If I'm doing like a story on something, like I gotta have the flash on my phone because like it's this weird like amber sort of tint to it. But I mean, yeah, my circadian rhythm's dialed in. Then like in the bedroom, it's like there's 2 candles in there.
It's better.
And, like that's it. And we have some low lights around the house because light from above, blue light from above, it's going to tell your body it's daytime. Like
sunlight.
Yeah. So and then your melatonin, right, gets suppressed basically from these blue lights. And this is why people like have sleep issues. But I really want people to understand that if they start to do this stuff, it's like I get it, bro. Like I play NHL with my buddies like late at night, but it's just like I just take steps to like manage it. Like I'll
Right.
throw on blue light
Glasses, yeah.
blockers, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but the red tinted ones at night are really what you want to go for.
Yep.
Like the clear ones aren't doing the
Yeah, I'm
job.
not doing that.
There's
No.
different tints that you can use for different times of the day.
Yep. Like I'm wearing these yellow ones. They let in I think 450 to 480,
Hmm.
but they block 430 and below
Gotcha.
light. So then that way I get the beneficial blue without the damaging blue. Because
Hmm.
there's something called a blue light hazard, where blue light damages photoreceptors. And when a blue light hits a photoreceptor, vitamin A gets cleaved off.
Hmm.
And when vitamin A gets loose in its free-bound form, it causes damage to other photoreceptors. So they're thinking this might be the reason that all these kids are having eye problems at a young age,
Mm.
especially the ones that are very blue light toxic. But the repair for that is from UVA light.
Mm.
So that's why like people are like, oh, who cares about UV? But UVA light hitting your skin and your eye actually repair through neuropsin and the melanopsin mechanism, repair those photoreceptors.
Gotcha.
So then you need infrared light plus UV light, which is the morning sunlight. Like about 2 hours after sunrise, you'll get both of those,
Okay.
and you'll be able to repair your skin, your eyes, all these things.
So what can we do, or what can we give people? So they live a normal life. They either work a 9 to 5 job or they're in school most of the day. How can they start to maximize their circadian biology and thus maximize their immune health, their hormone health, and just how they look? Like their
Right.
skin will start to look better. What can they do?
So if you live that life, which I know I have a hospital job, so it's kind of similar, you're going to initiate a minimum protocol and then try to max it out as much as you can. So the minimum protocol, if we start from sunrise, you want to catch the sunrise if you can.
Hmm.
If you're up that early and you can see the sun breaking the horizon, that's ideal, because the shift from that dark state to that light state will really tell your photoreceptors that it's daytime.
Right. So it's not so much even like, oh, like be outside during sunset or sunrise. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But it's not like once the sunset, you want to
Yes.
go in. Like you maximize your circadian biology. You watch the sunset, it
Mhm.
dipped, and then you go in. As far as I know, it's that
Yep.
it's that 20 minutes around that whole time, and even when it starts to really shift
Yep.
into like darkness. So if you're a surfer out there, like get that like sunset,
Mhm.
get 5 more waves, and then go in.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. I mean, that's why surfers, I had a post about this. I call it the surfer to office worker spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like surfers are like lean and healthy and fit, and they have a good mood.
Yep.
'Cause they're always in the water, getting magnesium from the ocean.
Exactly.
They're
Magnesium. We're getting
circadian,
some cold exposure in
Exactly.
California. Like
Yeah.
you're getting circadian, we were like gigging out on, we were trying to like film underwater spearfishing, or live streaming, I should say.
Shit.
And I learned, I'm like, cell signal goes kaput under salt water, like this deep.
Yeah.
Under, water that isn't salt water, it's a little deeper. So I'm like,
Interesting.
oh, it's kind of cool. Like we are completely protected from EMFs when we're
Yeah.
out there in the ocean.
It's the number one Faraday cage.
Yeah,
It's like
it
you're
is.
just in the body of water, especially in the ocean.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, the surfer life is way better than this 9 to 5 life.
Mhm.
But if you were in the 9 to 5 life, like you asked, you want to get the sunrise if you can. If you can't, you want some kind of bright light that's melanopic. So it has enough of that 450 to 480 nanometer light to really tell your brain that it's awake.
Where can someone get some? Like a
The
light
one
like that?
I use is it's called a Sky Portal from
Okay.
a company get Chroma. I think if they use my name, they get a discount code too. So,
Sweet.
I got to get you some of those. They're
And so
really nice.
that's like, something, if someone's in an apartment,
Yep.
let's say, and they wake up, they can sort of turn on that
Yep.
light, start to get that light in their eyes.
Yep.
Ideally, of course, they'd be going outside.
And then what I say is microdose. Like
Mhm.
if you don't have the time, at least go outside throughout the day, throughout like the critical periods to get some sunlight on your
For
skin
sure.
and eyes. That's the best form of microdosing is sun microdosing.
Yeah.
And then you'd accrue a lot of those benefits
Mhm.
just from going outside. So you want brightness in the morning. You don't want to start with your phone,
Mhm.
like for several reasons.
Yeah.
The blue light, the stimulation from social media, all these things. You want that bright light. And then if you're in front of a computer all day, you want to probably use some of these if you can, or get like a daylight tablet. You have one of those?
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah,
sent
the
me one. Really
daylight
cool
tablet.
thing. Yeah.
A game changer for me. I use that during my my hospital days.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing my coding and billing and all that stuff on that.
And it doesn't have that flicker. Like
Yes.
what is going on with this flickering in these screens, which we can't see? You can see
Yes.
it when you
Slow-mo.
have it. Yeah, like slow-mo, or if you have a video camera on a screen and it's flickering.
Yes.
And what is that doing?
So
this?
the
That doesn't seem
flickering
good.
is a problem with modern LEDs, because the eyes, even though you don't notice it, will kind of constrict and expand with each flicker, and that's a very stimulating, stressful event for your eyes.
Mhm.
So that's why people get like tired from their eyes. The advice is like if you're on a screen all day, like take a break. I think they have like a rule like 20 every 20 minutes, 20 feet.
Yeah.
20 seconds, something like that, from the optometry world, where you're looking away from the screen. Now, ideally, they should have screens that have no flicker. So the daylight tablet was a good product there because it has no flicker, it has no blue light,
Mhm.
and you can use it with the amber mode at night.
Yeah.
You can read up to bedtime on it with no problem.
Yeah.
So
And
that
so like during these little breaks people can take, so they've hit themselves some light in the morning and then
Yep.
they're taking these breaks. And like you're saying, like if they can look at something far away,
Yep.
like if you can get an environment that's somewhat green
Mhm.
and look at something far away,
Yep.
that's gonna be an amazing hack. Like I do that every morning.
Yep.
I'm able to look like far out towards the ocean, and
Yeah,
that's I mean, it just makes so much sense. Like from like the anthropological
Yes.
perspective, what I always talk about is like we were designed a certain way. There's like these deep biological reward mechanisms. Our body likes to function a certain way,
Yep.
and we've done that for 99 yards of the football field,
Yep.
and we're in this yard right here, and we're trying to change everything.
Yep.
And so,
wonder why people are sick and not feeling well.
yeah, so you look far away, and then 5 p.m. Luckily, I mean, sunset now here is at 5:12.
Finally eating later.
Finally, it's getting a little later. But so, what would you do?
So throughout the day, you want to get some sunlight. Now, you want to get some UVA, UVB. There's apps that can tell you. I think there's one called CIRCADIan that you download from the App Store. It tells you like what's the wavelength that's around you
Mhm.
at that time, and then you kind of at sunrise you get infrared and visible light. 1 hour in, UVA comes on board. About 2 to 3 hours in, UVB comes on board, and then at midday you have maximal full spectrum sunlight, which is infrared all the way to UVB.
Mhm.
And then when your shadow is about your length, UVB kind of shuts down. You have UVA, and then that hour before sunset, which is the golden hour
Mhm.
that people like photographers like. You look better during that. It's because there's no harsh UV light.
Yeah,
It's just infrared light and visible light, and just like you look better, you feel better. We're like kind of hardwired, like you said, to kind of look at that sunset.
for sure.
And you gaze at it. So you want to get some UVB exposure throughout the day to get that vitamin D production. So if you can like do a 5-minute walk, the darker your skin, the more
Mhm.
you will need midday to accrue that vitamin D benefit.
Yeah.
Because the more melanin in your skin, the more protection you have from sunlight, but also the more exposure you will need to get vitamin D cooking.
Mhm.
So there's that, and then you want to catch as much of the sunset as possible. So morning sunrise, morning sunset, get at least 5 to 10 minutes of each, and then midday, depending on your skin tone, get your UV exposure, microdose throughout the day.
Mhm.
At night, make the phone turn red
Yep.
like this. We'll put a link up of how to do that. You have low hanging lights, so like incandescent bulbs are great.
Mhm.
Put them throughout your house. You don't want like harsh overhead lighting to stimulate you, and then if you have blue light blockers,
Yeah,
put
blue
those
light
on.
blockers are key because like I like watching a show at night with my wife, and it's like I throw those on. The house is very dark, and then yeah, you just sleep so much
Yep.
better.
Yep.
And when I don't do that, whatever it's travel, whatever it is, you just see it. You
Yep.
see it in sleep scores. You see it in how you feel, and yeah, it's kind of one of those things that's pretty easy to dial in and
Mhm.
start to make those little efforts to just do better. I mean, like we have a very healthy work environment here, but like we'll take like sun breaks.
Sure.
Like I'm like we've just finished a podcast with Tahir, and then I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna go out, did a little workout in the sun. Now for people to absorb enough vitamin D from the sun, it seems like a lot of people just aren't doing that. Maybe they live in like a very cold environment.
Yep.
Maybe they're just in school, all day during the best hours to get sun. These schools don't let people outside anymore. They have them all on iPads and
Yeah.
computers. So, with that, it's like you need total body sun exposure, probably like in a swimsuit, or a combination of supplementing with some vitamin D and getting sun. And then if you're in some really cooked environment, you should probably up that vitamin D supplement.
Right. There's a big vitamin D debate now of whether or not supplemental is okay or not. There's extremists on both sides, right? I think you should do your blood work, see where your vitamin D levels are. If you're chronically low, it makes sense to try to get sunlight if you can. Get one of these UV lamps, if possible. But realistically, like if you're fair skinned and you're below the 33rd parallel, because right now most of the country has no vitamin D exposure.
Yeah.
Like even if they went outside for all day,
Mhm.
they'd make almost zero vitamin D.
Yeah.
Because there's no UV light above the 33rd parallel. So like, let's say Las Vegas and north,
Mhm.
there's no vitamin D production in the winter. So those people have to like stock up in the
Yeah.
summertime so they can store it. The cool part is vitamin D is fat soluble, so it will be stored in your fat cells. There's a debate and there's a suggestion that even cold exposure makes
I was just about to ask
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like cold exposure helps you make vitamin D, or maybe in
Yeah,
like
so-
Nordic populations better. Like, yeah, very interesting.
The idea is that we actually make our own light.
Mhm.
Which sounds crazy at the face of it. It makes sense. Like if you get a infrared camera and shine at people, you can see infrared light coming off
Sure.
of people's bodies. It appears that in cold exposure, you will make UV light internally.
Interesting.
And this may be sufficient to stimulate some of the cholesterol to be converted into vitamin D,
Mm,
which makes sense. So like how do the people in the winter in Norway have sufficient immune systems and vitamin D production? They had cold
for
exposure.
sure.
So that makes sense. So you have the UV lamp, the cold exposure pathway, supplemental. Like a lot of people will say maybe cod liver oils is the best way
Yeah.
to get some vitamin D intake because of its nice bound form in the liver with vitamin A as a cofactor. There's some suggestion that vitamin A and vitamin D kind of are the perfect immune boosting stack. Alone, they don't do anything, but together they work nicely.
Absolutely.
And then moving your fat stores, so like getting some exercise, moving will release some vitamin D from the fat
For
stores.
sure.
So there's that. And then if you're like light skinned, 5 minutes a day might be enough to make 1,000, 2,000 IUs, which some of the regulatory agencies I think will suggest 600 to 1,000 IUs a day orally, or get that from the sunlight.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, it's pretty easy stuff to dial in. One of the next things I want to touch on is nicotine.
Yeah.
So nicotine is like the most popular thing right now. So many young people are doing a bunch of Zyn pouches.
Yep.
And the idea that is put forward is, hey, do these Zyn pouches because they give you nootropic effects and it's going to help you lock in. And what I wanted to discuss with an actual doctor today is some of the research on nicotine, because I'm not some person who's like, oh, there's zero cool research on it. I think there's some really interesting stuff about nicotine. But my concern, talking to a lot of young people, is that they hear some of that and then they go, well, I'm going to do 8 Zyn pouches a day.
Yeah.
And it's pretty
12
clear that
milligrams times 8.
it's like it's pretty clear that that's not the way to go about it. So what do you kind of think about nicotine?
Yeah, those guys are doing the 12 milligrams 8 times a day. They probably have no erections. So because the
Vasoconstriction
effects of nicotine. So yeah, nicotine is a nuanced topic. It's a naturally found phytochemical. You find it in potatoes, tomatoes, and a bunch of different nightshades. Now, it got lumped in with the negative effects of smoking. So smoking, we know, is associated with several diseases, chief among them cardiovascular disease, lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, all these different bad diseases. Now, we do notice some diseases that decrease with smoking, such as Parkinson's disease. So there's definitely a brain, let's say, benefit to some amount of nicotine. Now, smoking nicotine is going to be bad for you on average because of the effects on your lungs and your heart. So not worth it. You're going to have endothelial damage, especially after the last 5 years of how people are worried about their hearts. Probably not a good idea to be smoking nicotine. Now, there's probably a sweet spot of low dose nicotine, which has a nootropic effect without having cardiovascular consequences from vasoconstriction and blood pressure. And that will vary person to person. So if somebody has hypertension, nicotine's a no-go. Right? Because they're just going to spike their blood pressure even worse, cause endothelial damage, and slowly cause heart disease over time. Now, a low dose nicotine is something that I like, whether it's a gum or pouch or something like that, as a nootropic, without it being a regular daily dependency. So, like, twice, 3 times a week, a 2 milligram pouch or gum is sufficient. It should be very stimulating. It should hit you and you should feel something. The problem is there's always a diminishing return with these. So 2 becomes 4, becomes 6, becomes 8. And that's where all these kids end up. The real problem, though, is why are you so low dopamine? Why are these kids unable to focus? Because
I think that's why nicotine hits so well for them, and they do get addicted really quickly, because when you are in that super low dopamine state and you don't have drive, you feel sort of emotionless, numb, maybe a little bit tired, from a variety of things, mitochondrial dysfunction, circadian rhythm issues, and then you pop this pouch in there and you feel sort of revved up and able to take on the world, and then you think, well, this is great. And then you see a post on Instagram, some guy saying this cures all diseases, and then so it's like, I have not had a 19 or 20-year-old come up to me who's very Zen focused and say, yeah, I use 2 to 3 pouches a week.
No,
because I would go, cool, go do you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems like a rational way to use it if you choose to use it.
And there's good evidence that UV light hitting the eye actually increases dopamine levels in the eye, probably deeper in the brain also. So that's another problem. They're all indoors. They're not getting UV exposure. They're not making sufficient amounts of dopamine. Remember, dopamine is an aromatic ring, so that it does absorb light. Nicotine does as well. So there's probably a sun deficit, which is leading these people to want to use the nicotine. Now, here and there, it's probably okay. It's probably on average going to be positive, with some caveats about blood pressure and heart disease and stuff like that.
So why So totally, I think I totally agree with you there. So if a 19-year-old's watching this and they're trending into the daily use of a few pouches per day,
Not a good idea.
why, as a doctor, would you tell them to kind of scale it back?
Yeah, not a good idea. Number one, that person probably doesn't get morning wood anymore, so that's a problem. By the way, morning wood, very important health marker for young guys.
Absolutely.
If you're not getting labs, or you probably don't need labs if you're that young. Um, Morning wood is your lab test that tells you how your nervous system is doing, how your testosterone system is doing, cortisol, like if you're sleeping good, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you're getting a lot of nicotine, your blood flow to your penis decreases. Actually, most people will notice their flaccid gets smaller with a
Wow.
good amount of nicotine usage. So there you go.
Your dick smaller, guys.
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
Everyone just threw out their Zins.
Yeah, no, I mean, so like low dose is probably not a problem, but if you're just doing it over and over again, you're constricting your vessels, you're getting anxiety, you're dependent on that just to do like I know people that need a Celsius and 3 to 4 Zins just to get up and like go to Target to return
sure.
something.
It's not good.
Come on.
And what about like nighttime and evening usages? Like when people say, Brennan, I love my Zins, I don't want to give them up. I'm like, okay, just can you like try to not do them? Same thing with energy drinks. Can you try to not do them after 4 p.m. Like because I do worry about. I think the half-life nicotine is pretty short, but there are a lot of people doing these at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. They're trying to go to sleep by 10 or 11. You're still gonna have some the effects.
Yep, because nicotine will increase REM sleep actually, but decrease deep sleep. And you do not want that. Like I know people, REM sleep's going up, it's great, but you want to have your sleep architecture should look like a lot of deep sleep to start the night, and then a lot of REM sleep to end the night. So you don't want that mixed up. You want this nice, beautiful curve, but you're gonna increase cortisol, increase adrenaline, all these other things. You don't want that for your from your nicotine burden.
Can you give us an overview of some of those catecholamines, just some of the main ones when like you pop a Zin in your mouth, what kind of happens there and what are those effects on the brain?
So Zin, the reason nicotine is so interesting is because it goes through the acetylcholine system. So there's acetylcholine, people take choline sources, eggs, alpha GPC, there's different choline sources to make acetylcholine. It's one of the critical neurotransmitters. The reason nicotine versus caffeine is such an interesting compound is because nicotine tends to stimulate the brain while calming down the body. So that's why people like after a meal, you like smoke a cigarette to help them digest. It gets your body into like a relaxed state while your brain is turned on. So that's why people like the Zin and the smoking and all that stuff. So I get it why there's a desire for it. The problem is when you go too high, you start having, your heart rate starts increasing, you get anxious, you get rising epinephrine, norepinephrine. You do get the dopaminergic benefits, right? But you don't want that at night, like you just mentioned. So you are getting increase in those catecholamines, but the question is, do you want that chronically 24/7? No.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Same thing with your cortisol and all these things too.
Yeah, cortisol is a really interesting one. People like fear cortisol. There's like this meme right now, like don't spike your cortisol, don't spike your cortisol. And I know there's a lot of truth to it, but like I think when you start to learn about cortisol, like we have a Dutch test, a lab test waiting, and it shows your cortisol rhythm throughout the day. So why is this meme of you always want low cortisol not really the truth? What is an optimal cortisol rhythm?
Yeah, so cortisol naturally, there's something called the cortisol awakening response, where cortisol brings you out of sleep. That's why you wake up in the morning, you're like ready to go. Cortisol mobilizes sugar and fat stores. It raises your heart rate. If your cortisol was low in the morning, you get out of bed and tip over and fall down because your blood pressure wouldn't be high enough. So it gets your blood pressure up, gets your heart rate up, gets you going for the day, gets you focused, turns on all these networks in the brain that are associated with focus. The problem is you do not want that to stay up all day. So cortisol nicely spikes during the daytime. It drops around noon. That's why people get that nap in. So usually it drops down around noon. And there's strategies around mitigating that. And then it kind of goes up a little bit around sunset and then come back down to where it should be at very low at night so you can sleep. Now, the reason morning cortisol for men isn't a concern is because testosterone and cortisol are really antagonists. So your high testosterone in the morning should be counteracting the high cortisol. So you're not having the catabolic effects from cortisol. Because if I was to inject you with cortisol every day, your muscles would shrink and your fat stores would get bigger. You get like a puffy face, you get a hump on your back. It's kind of like happens to a lot of patients that are like on cortisol for like cortisol medications like prednisone, dexamethasone for different diseases. Now, testosterone buffers the effects of cortisol. So cortisol is anabolic to fat, catabolic to muscle. Testosterone is anabolic to muscle, catabolic to fat. So they're opposites there. And that's why you can tolerate more work, more intensity, more duration as a younger man or as a man on TRT.
Mhm.
So that's why all these young guys like Clav and them, they're getting on TRT because TRT buffers you
Mhm.
against the stresses of life
Mm.
and the cortisol.
Interesting. And so, yeah, the whole meme of like, don't let this raise my cortisol
Yeah.
is not necessarily true. Like working out raises your cortisol.
Yes, it does.
And working out is a good thing to do
Yes.
for your body, despite what some people think. Have you heard about there's like
Really?
Dude, there's like there,
Everyone wants
there's
attention,
okay,
man.
yeah, there's some creators who basically say like working out is bad because like it raises your cortisol. That's pretty much
They
like
all fat and
I don't think they're in great shape, you know. There's a lot of like the skinny fat thing going on.
that's what people don't realize. Do a DEXA scan. Doesn't look
Yeah.
doesn't look good.
And then
People-
you get lab work from a lot of people. Like there
Yeah.
are people who are not fat, but like their insulin's all messed
Yes.
up, their HbA1c is super high. Like
fasting
you
insulin's
can
high.
kind of tell from somebody's labs like how they feel
Mhm.
to a certain point.
Yep.
Everyone's different, but like that's the really interesting thing about health and like why I talk about people need to get their lab work
Yep.
done. They need to start to dial in these basic things with health. It's like if you look at somebody who's 400 pounds, doesn't sleep well, and they drink sometimes, they have a sin addiction, they're relying on energy drinks. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
I do, and you don't feel good.
Nope.
You might feel good when you're spiked up on energy drinks
And
and
Adderall.
Zins and Adderall for an hour or two, but
Yep, nope.
those lows are low, and that's
Yeah.
where a lot of people are living in. I think one of my main concerns lately with like the youth is this sort of cocktail they have going on of multiple energy drinks per day
Mhm.
and then multiple Zins, and then some people throw in a cannabis addiction to kind of unwind
Yep.
that, and it just
Uppers and downers.
goes on, and it really is kind of scary because like you're saying with Zins, like if you overuse them and then you throw in alcohol, you throw in energy drinks, you throw in circadian biology disruption, it's like you have your dopamine receptors and they can kind of get fried, right?
Desensitized. Yeah.
They can get desensitized, and then
Downregulated, desensitized.
things don't feel
That's
good
good. Yeah.
anymore.
With pornography too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I forgot to throw that in. Like
Yeah.
these dudes are gooners. You got a
Yeah.
generation of gooners. Young Dabo.
Prolactin generation.
Yeah. So let's talk about that now. Let's talk about it and be careful for YouTube how
Yeah.
we talk about it. But
Yes,
we can
sure.
say you got a generation of gooners. Young
Yep.
Dabo, a creator, sat in here with us, and he said he loves it. He loves gooning. He
But doesn't that
pulls it up in
disgust
the
you?
morning.
Like, don't you have a visceral response?
Of course.
See, everyone knows they've been down that rabbit hole. Everyone's been on these websites,
yeah,
right?
100%.
But when someone's up front with it, like brazen with it, you're
Oh,
like,
he
"Ugh."
loves it. Oh yeah, I was
It's like
what?
disgusting.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so this generation of gooners, what does that do biochemically to somebody if they're living in that world?
Yeah. And that's why we're going to divorce the conversation around dopamine and prolactin from sex versus dopamine and prolactin from gooning. So when it comes to pornography causes a hyper stimulation of dopamine because never in your life will you see like 35 different ladies that are all dressed up, perked up, everything's perfect. So you're having this hyper stimulation of dopamine. So you're raising the bar of what you need to even get turned on.
Mm.
So I get a lot of guys, especially religious kids,
Mhm.
that like they've never had sex growing up. They've been like they're either in yeshiva or they're like some Muslim kid that doesn't have premarital sex. They get married. They've
And
been on
they've been
pornography.
watching all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their wedding night, they can't get it up
Mhm.
for a girl.
Yeah.
Like especially like some innocent chick, they're not gonna be able
For
to,
sure.
to get it up for a girl. They're so used to watching
Mhm.
pornography. They're like the voyeurism works for them.
Mhm.
So they need more stimulation to get up. So that's like the long term. On a short term basis, you're releasing prolactin without a sufficient dopamine response because prolactin and dopamine are really opposites. You do not want to be drowning in prolactin. Prolactin is anti-testosterone. It's pro-estrogen.
So prolactin is after you bust a nut.
Yes.
Okay. Your prolactin rises, and it's sort of there, to like
Rest and digest.
rest and digest to like
Kind of take it easy.
take
relax.
it easy, recover.
Yes.
Maybe like an evolutionary thing of that is when you maybe are bonding.
Yeah,
you're
there you
not
go.
like you're not. I mean, you kind of are technically, but like you're in the mindset of being able to chill. You're not going to go find the next woman.
That's the point.
right then. That's probably the evolutionary thing we have going on.
And as you get older, you get worse at clearing prolactin. That's why the refractory period, the period between sessions, goes up as you get older on average.
And so when you watch these websites that all these young guys are watching, they're scrolling on them, whatever, their prolactin is rising just watching it.
when you ejaculate.
Gotcha. Okay, so because they're doing that. I mean, young Dabo, I think, was like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So you're just getting these prolactin spikes throughout the day, and what does that do?
That's not good because prolactin will, first of all, decrease the LH FSH production. We'll get that when we get to testosterone production for you. Prolactin lowers LH and FSH. It desensitizes androgen receptors.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually found that when someone is not ejaculating for a certain amount of time, their testosterone levels don't change. There are studies like this does, like Muhammad Ali would say he wouldn't have sex 2 months before a fight. The idea was like he would get tougher, and they did studies about it. No, it doesn't change your testosterone levels, but it seems to change testosterone receptors. So they're more sensitive or less sensitive the more you goon.
Okay, interesting.
So there's like early data on that. So you have less testosterone receptors. So on average, you're just kind of more lethargic. You're less go-getter. You're less trying to get after it. You potentially will have different testosterone responses. Now, we're not saying that pornography is going to lower testosterone, but on average, if you're staying up late, doing blue light, watching pornography, not sleeping as well, not recovering, that might be deleterious to your testosterone production.
For sure. And is there solid evidence that like people do the No Nut November and stuff because they're in their mind, they're thinking I'm going to increase my testosterone, my focus, my drive. Is abstaining an actual way to do that?
Yeah, so abstaining is probably not increasing your hormone levels, but like we've been talking about, hormone levels in the blood aren't the end all and be all. What matters is what's happening at the receptor level. So if your receptors are more sensitive or more numerous, and you have more downstream production of the genes that are associated with testosterone. So like testosterone binds to the receptor goes into the nucleus turns on all these androgenic genes. If you have more of those being produced, who cares what the testosterone level in the blood is?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's very nuanced. Like after our last podcast, I got so many messages from young kids like, I'm at testosterone 700. Am I cooked? It's like, no, it depends on the receptor and how do you feel? It's very nuanced, and we can get into that. But somebody who has a very sensitive receptor might be doing better at testosterone of 600 than someone who's not sensitive at 900. So it's very nuanced.
It's an experiment that I'll never run. I have a beautiful wife. I'm not doing abstinence. Okay.
There you go.
I'm not running that one. I'll run some experiments on myself for you guys. I'm not going to do that one. Sounds no fun. So we do some lab work, and I post. I'm the whole testosterone lab crew always wants people to post their full panel basically to show various things. Namely SHBG, not just your test, but your free test, your SHBG, and some other levels, which we'll get into. And I always post that stuff. I don't care. I'm not one of these health people that tries to hide stuff. Like because I've always made my content I'm not perfect. I'm learning. I'm learning with my audience, and they love that. So I post my testosterone's 1,007. Then I go into and I just got that result back. I go and do Bradley Martin's podcast. And then I come out and I'm going to film a thing that night on my whole blood work. Yeah. And I already see Greg Doucette's jumped on it, and he's like, Santa Cruz on enclomiphene. He's not natty. And I'm like, whoa. And then I post my whole blood work, and my SHBG a little high. I think the range ends at 50. Mine's 55. Yep. And what else did you see in that blood work that we're gonna work on and improve on?
Yeah. So first question, you're natty, correct?
100% natty.
Camera.
This is the thing. Come test me anytime. Any tests people have. 100% natty. Never taken testosterone. Never taken enclomiphene. Never taken anything like anabolic steroids. No. And what I tell people is,
there's no Anavar in here.
No Anavar in there. I hope not. Okay. I will do TRT eventually. Yeah. When you tell me to, when I'm doing it, hey, it's that time, and I'm not opposed to these things, and I don't write off athletes who take it or just people who take it. I think that you can do it intelligently. It's what we talked about with Clav and stuff. It's he makes a good point where he's like, well, if somebody's dialed in, they can do TRT. It's 100%. Yeah. And it can have benefits for sure.
Definitely.
And it might combat some of the stressors of the world. We'll talk about why you are pretty firmly against it for young men, because it's easy to do the other way. Yeah. But yeah, I've never taken anything, and I was stoked to see that high testosterone reading, but the free test is still normal. It's in a mid-high range. And what are we going to do to improve that?
So you asked about your labs. Your testosterone was 1,007. Your SHBG was 54. Your LH and FSH were both around 9 or 10. So pretty high for a natural, which is why Greg decided was probably thinking that.
Mhm.
So your free testosterone calculated is going to be around, I think, 150 because your albumin was also. So the way we calculate free testosterone is looking at SHBG, total testosterone, and albumin,
Mhm.
because albumin is another protein that carries testosterone in the blood, less so than SHBG and albumin together will carry a lot of testosterone, and then some of it will be free. So your total testosterone was 1,007. Your free was around 150 calculated, which we would like that to be closer to 200, given we want about 2%
Okay.
of your total to be free. That's usually the way we like it. We're assuming that might be some of the ferritin things we discussed previously. But it sounds to me, so like the way you think about this, the testosterone system, it's the brain and the testicles and some other organs that kind of chime in and tell your body what to do. So your brain, your hypothalamus makes GnRH. GnRH goes down to the pituitary. The pituitary makes LH and FSH. They go down to the testicles. LH tells the testicles, the Leydig cells, to make testosterone. FSH goes down to the Sertoli cells to make sperm. And that's how you get male fertility. Now, your brain is really telling your testicles, make more testosterone.
Interesting.
So your brain's like, come on, we need more testosterone. So actually, your brain doesn't seem to be too happy at 1,007, which sounds crazy to other guys.
Dude, let's go. I'm gonna get up to. Wait, why is that? Is it because of the environments I'm in? I'm always like, this guy attacks me and wrestles me like on an average day. Like, is that like you're saying some like the competition stuff? Is that why? Yeah.
So you were around 800 before, right?
Yeah, I think I've gotten a result at like 854.
Yeah.
I think was like my last lab result.
Yeah. So I think.
And then this one was 1,007.
We're going to check your receptor density and receptor sensitivity. We'll get that lab test for you and see where you're at. That'd be an interesting place to look, because you get your androgen receptors from your mom. You don't get them from your dad.
No, my mom's genetics are no. Shut up, my mom.
So it'd be actually interesting because different parts of India will have different androgen types. That's why you have like those giant Indian wrestlers. And
I know people think of Indians as all like like what they think of some guy doing like software coding, like really frail, like not dead ass. Like that's what they think.
Yeah.
But this documentary on those Indian wrestler dudes, and you're like, bro, like they're jacked, bro.
Yeah.
And sometimes you meet like a huge Indian. Remember we filmed with Sagar Kong. Put him like there's this guy in Florida, my homie, and his thing is Greek yogurt. He's the Greek yogurt god. But he's huge, bro. He's like 6'4", like 2, and you're like, okay, like
so it's hard
billion people, so you're gonna have a lot of variety.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like there's averages per countries, but India is one country that's harder to actually look at as a whole because there's such a variety of people that are north, south, different things. So we'll see where your androgen receptors look at. So either your androgen receptors aren't that sensitive and your body wants more testosterone to overcome that, or your testicles are not responding sufficiently to the LH and FSH signals.
Okay.
So maybe like there's some kind of mitochondrial fix we're gonna do. There's a possibility that it could be the ferritin in the liver thing we talked about because your androgens, testosterone and DHT, go to your bone marrow and tell your bone marrow to make red blood cells. That's why a lot of people that are taking testosterone will get a hemoglobin up 17, 18. That's why people like for Tour de France and all these kind of athletic events, they want that high hemoglobin to perform better. Or like you go up to altitude. When I was in Colorado, my hemoglobin was always 18. So when I come back to California, I'd perform much better than I would otherwise. So is it possibly that you have a little bit too much iron stores in your body? And
so what's really interesting is like, I wonder if it's like I just started like making more money. So like, okay, so like so like in college I would in college it would be like I would do way more chicken.
Yeah.
And I'd do my steaks, I'd do my ground beef. And I think anybody would have always promoted is like you have a good balanced diet. Like I love throwing in, some fish, some chicken, and a lot of meat. But I do wonder if it's like, there's so many days where I'm just like, I can rip a steak right now, like a really good steak, and now I can do that.
From success, bro.
And so so now I've started to just layer in a bit more chicken, which I love chicken. I cook it a lot, and so some of that, and then you were also recommending donating some blood, which I've heard. I remember hearing Dave Asprey a decade ago talking about basically most men, it's probably beneficial if they go donate blood because it lowers ferritin, which is very common. And so why is that? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I can talk about your ferritin levels. Right?
Yeah.
You guys have the confidentiality here, but ferritin is a enzyme that stores iron in your, especially in your liver. And there's a concern that high levels of ferritin are not good. Having super low ferritin, which a lot of menstruating females will have, is not good either. So you want this like Goldilocks zone. There's also a newer concern that's come out that EMFs interact with the iron and that there might be a deleterious effect because that changes the charge state of iron from Fe3 plus to Fe2 plus.
Interesting.
So the idea is maybe in a EMF rich world, it's better to have your ferritin closer to maybe 50 to 100, 150 maximum.
That's interesting. And you know what also happened to us? Albert, remember Liver King shipped us that giant box of ancestral wellness stuff? So like, bro, if you go out there, there's like this giant box of all the ancestral
You're probably
wellness
taking
stuff.
a lot of livers.
Well, not just liver, I was taking the blood.
Oh yeah, it's too much
So
stuff,
so I'm like, getting stoked on that. But now that I got that's why lab work's important. It's like, okay, maybe just don't supplement with dried beef blood. I don't, and maybe for like a woman who has low iron, and that could be an excellent supplement. Or a man that has, some lower levels there. But like for me,
I ran my mom's labs. Her ferritin was low. I'm going to put her on a liver supplement to raise her ferritin so her hemoglobin will come up.
Absolutely.
For you, we're doing the opposite. So that's why it's like very nuanced. That's why people have to understand the space. That's not one size fits all.
For sure.
We're going to check some genetic markers for you and make sure you don't have something called hereditary hemochromatosis. It's a condition where your liver stores more iron in it, and that could lead to liver failure down the line. I don't think you do.
I don't want that.
Based on your levels, but we're just going to make sure that you're not there, since we want to run the genetic tests anyways. But the idea is your ferritin was above 400.
I don't know. I could.
It was above 400, which is concerning. And I think Paul Saladino actually had the same experience where his SHBG was very high. So although his testosterone was like above 800, his free wasn't that high. Once he donated some blood, lowered the SHBG, his free testosterone came up.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm stoked to do that. And I mean, it can literally be just kind of like the world that we're in. Like, dude, I mean, literally like we'll like formulate supplements and I'll be like taking like a lot of supplements. I view it as like
testing.
Yeah. Just like testing. Like I'm just like doing this but yeah, it can get a bit excessive at times.
Yeah, and there's a anthropologic explanation that like men used to bleed in war, or they'd be working the field to get a cut, and they'd bleed more, and now men don't bleed, which is a good thing. We're not suffering from those issues and having like some kind of limb amputation, whatever it may be. But we can get blood work and donate some blood, and keep our ferritin in check, and then take it easy on the liver.
That'd be cool. So I'll donate some blood. I'll stop eating beef blood. Just drinking beef blood. I'll stop doing that, and then I will get. How long will that take to like you do some of those protocols, and then you get more lab work when?
For a few weeks, because what's going to happen is your hemoglobin was like 16.7. It's going to drop, which is a phenomenal number. Good for athletic performance. It's going to probably drop to like if you donate two double reds, probably drop down to 14.5, 15. Then over time, your body will make more EPO. That's the hormone that the cyclists take from the kidneys. It will go to your bone marrow and tell your body to use some of that ferritin store to make more hemoglobin. So a few weeks, you'll get back to your baseline. You'll have exhausted some of those ferritin stores, and then you should be in a better spot.
Okay, nice. I'm excited for that. Now I want to get into some peptide discussions.
All right.
That's what everyone wants to know.
I know.
The question you all want to know is, what peptides should I be taking? Right? That's like the question. Unfortunately, a lot of those are from 15-year-olds. But so we're gonna get into it. I'm just gonna kind of like rapid fire some stuff at you. So GHK. GHK. Let's first talk about injecting GHK. Is this going to cause some excess copper in the body? How can people go about that in a right way, or should they just use topical?
For most people, topical is going to make the most sense. And dude, my DMs got destroyed after the last podcast asking, which topical do you use? The answer is Miraskin. I can link that on my story.
Mira, M-I?
Yeah, I think mymiraskin.co.
Okay,
is the
nice
website. I think you use my name. There's also a code.
Sweet.
So the founder is my friend. So you just use ABUD and you get the benefit there.
Okay.
Topical GHK copper is a phenomenal add-on to your skin regimen because you're going to have more collagen repair, less collagen breakdown. GHK copper is a tripeptide with a copper in the center, and it actually changes over like 40% of the genes in your skin to more youthful state. So when you're young, your levels of GHK are very high. As you get older, they drop down. And the idea is with GHK copper, injectable or topical, or actually, there's actually a gene therapy coming out for GHK copper. I was talking to that company this week. They're gonna do it. They're gonna bring it out. So then you restore your GHK copper to your youthful levels. Now, copper is interesting for the skin. There's some data for lungs, like repairing fibrosis in the lungs, and then there's some potential cognitive benefits because it's a tripeptide. It goes into the nucleus and turns on more youthful gene expression, for lack of a better term. Injectable has become interesting in like these glow stacks, as an adjuvant to BPC and TB for joint repair, wound repair, and these kind of things. It's hard to say where that's going to go. Topical, I think we have the best evidence for. There's a researcher named Dr. Pickart, who was the founder of GHK, and he did a lot of publishing about it.
And so, what would be the main effects somebody would see once they start either using topical GHK or injecting it? Because you say this is something that's in our body when we're youthful, and then it sort of declines. Are they going to see hair growth? Are they going to see skin benefits? Like, what do people see?
Yeah, so there was a hype around GHK for hair growth, and it probably has some effects there. It's not going to work like a finasteride or dutasteride, and you're suddenly going to sprout hair. It's going to be a nice adjuvant to your minoxidil, to whatever you're using to grow more hair, healthier hair, because you're getting more blood flow to the skin. You're going to get a thicker hair follicle, more collagen production. On the skin, if you have like fine lines, decreasing that, especially if you pair GHK copper with red light therapy. So bring that to our whole discussion from today. Red light therapy and GHK copper, a lot of people will report very positive effects. They put the GHK copper topical serum or some red light on there, and then you have beneficial effects for skin elasticity. The plumpness of your skin looks better. So that'd be interesting. A lot of people are putting it in tallow now.
Okay. Hey, new product.
Yeah, there you go.
I need to work on that one.
There you go. There you go. So there's hype around that. Injectable will get the highest levels, of course. Injectables cannot be prescribed technically anymore because it's on the Category 2 ban list. But everyone's getting them from research campsites and injecting.
Would someone need to be wary of their own zinc and copper levels? Because zinc and copper, obviously, we sell our zinc copper supplement because they exist in a balance in our body. And I just saw so many kids like rip it, like they go zinc good, testosterone, and they start ripping like 30, 40 milligrams of zinc in a supplement a day. And then it's like your copper, like you're not balanced at all. So, like what's the deal with that?
So there's a big disagreement in the alternative health space. Is copper good or bad? There's a group that says copper is evil. It's so bad. Never have it. And then there's the ones like you have to take copper with your zinc because when zinc and copper compete with each other for absorption. So it makes sense to have them both in a product. Now, copper, it seems the reason why there's so much disagreement in the two is that as you age, you get less of these copper binding peptides. So when you're young, you have all these copper binding peptides that are binding copper and keeping it under control. As you get older, you have less of these peptides, copper levels go up and you have more problems. That's my explanation to like please both sides.
Sure.
And that seems to be a explanation that would make sense. It needs to be investigated further. There hasn't been any reported cases of copper toxicity from GHK copper that we know of. Because if people were going to inject that much, they'd be in so much pain, they would probably never inject again. Because copper stings. And what sucks about it injectable is it hurts. Like it will hurt for the next 24 hours.
Interesting.
Where you injected it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like I think topicals is plenty.
Okay. Okay. Nice. And now I want to get into the testosterone versus sermorelin versus HGH kind of conversation. So the testosterone and sermorelin boost your body's natural production of HGH essentially, and HGH obviously raises your levels of HGH. How do they both kind of interplay with IGF-1 and human growth hormone, and why are people using them?
So let's break this down. Number one, your pituitary gland produces growth hormone, and this production is very high during puberty, and then decreases by your mid to early 30s. Something called somatopause. So kind of like menopause for women, they stop producing eggs for pregnancies. Men and women will have somatopause, where you will make less growth hormone as you get older. The thought is that might be adaptive, so you have less risk for cancers and all these things. But that's a big discussion.
And that's why people, I'm 30 something, the joints start creaking,
I don't recover as good, my workouts aren't as good. So then growth hormone goes from the pituitary down into the liver, and then with a sufficient amount of insulin, a sufficient amount of growth hormone, they produce insulin like growth factor 1, IGF-1. And this is the thing that's responsible for muscle growth and height growth for teenagers and all these things. And then in the muscles and in other tissues, you get MGF and you get like all these different growth factors as a result of growth hormone being present. Now, as you age, it's very hard to measure growth hormone in the serum, actually. So we didn't even run that lab for you. Because if you don't catch it right at the right peak, you don't get a result. We're assuming how much growth hormone you're producing based on your IGF-1 levels. And there's a Z-score for that. So you can see on average, compared to people your age, how are you producing growth hormone? So by 30 to 35, most people's growth hormone has tanked significantly. And that's why you said their joints ache. They're not feeling as good from a recovery perspective. Their skin starts to sag a little bit. Their immune system gets worse because growth hormone is necessary for thymic production of thymulin and different lymphocytes. Now, so what do people do? You can walk into a gym and you'll see anyone who has money has very nice skin in their 40s and 50s. Why? They're all taking growth hormone. They're either prescribed by some longevity doctor or they're getting it illicitly and they're using growth hormone. The alternative between that is to use these growth hormone releasing peptides, GHRHs and GHRPs, that tell your body to make more growth hormone. So they go up to your pituitary gland and tell your body to release more growth hormone. You'll hear testosterone, soromorelin, CJC, ipamorelin, MK677. MK677 is technically not a peptide, but it does the same thing. And you can either use the GHRH pathway or the ghrelin pathway. So when you're hungry, actually, ghrelin, the hormone of hunger produced in your stomach, will go up to your brain and tell your brain to make growth hormone. Why is that? Because if you're starving, you don't want to be tearing down all your muscle.
Sure.
And breaking down your muscle, you'd rather break down your fat. So that's why people like talk about fasting releases growth hormone. Yes, it does. It's not going to make you have high IGF-1 levels because you're fasting. By default, your insulin should be low. So there's that whole system. And then people are looking at where can we manipulate the system to produce more growth hormone or just inject the growth hormone itself, especially for athletic endeavors.
Interesting. And so HGH is very expensive as far as I know, looking at the Liver King
very hard
stuff.
to prescribe, actually.
Shout out Liver King, man.
Yeah.
He has the money to afford it.
He should have got Increlex. He really screwed that up. You can get IGF-1, not the IGF-1 LR3. It's on all these research chem sites. It's actual like pharma grade IGF-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would that do to somebody? Like pharma grade IGF-1?
They would just grow.
Okay.
It's very powerful.
It's very powerful.
Very
so
powerful.
like all these things, I feel like with so many to the peptide and HGH conversation, everything sounds so awesome. Like I'm like, dude, let me leave here and just start blasting HGH. You know what I mean? So like from a doctor's point of view, like when you're working with people, like how do you kind of like to look at this? Because like you're saying, like it starts to go down in your 30s. So it's like maybe you see somebody in their 30s, 40s, and you start to put them on one of these peptides that'll increase their natural production, and then maybe when they're older they start to do HGH maybe, or how do you like to look at it?
Yeah, it's going to be very individual based and very goal based. If somebody's like still doing jiu-jitsu and they're training a lot, they're probably at higher risk of harm from being injured from not recovering properly than using a growth hormone peptide, right? And having higher growth levels and better sleep. Because the other thing is growth hormone really modulates your sleep. So a lot of people will take sermolone not for the growth hormone reasons, but for sleep.
Interesting. So it gives you more deep sleep?
More deep sleep. Because what happens is at night, your melatonin rises, prolactin goes up. So that's why sex at night makes sense. Back to the prolactin discussion, not gooning at night. Then you growth hormone and prolactin kind of come together. They go up, then they come down, and testosterone rises during the REM sleep. So that's like part of the symphony of circadian hormones. The idea is that you get more deep sleep from the growth hormone release. So somebody who's like very active, very athletic, has very insulin sensitive, because the problem is growth hormone will make you more insulin resistant. So if somebody's like, a lot of people want to be on growth hormone, and my rule is if you want to be on these growth hormone peptides or growth hormone, you have to have insulin sensitivity. If you don't.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really important. So the somewhat out of shape 20-something-year-old watching this right now who has high HbA1c and their insulin is all messed up and they drink Coca-Cola and they don't eat enough or don't lift weights, whatever. They start doing HGH.
Or testosterone from a research website. They end up gaining, first of all, 15 pounds of water weight. They fluff up. They don't look good.
Yeah. The looks, maxing effects are good.
No, there's no looks maxing effect if you're getting fatter. Because your appetite, some of these growth hormone releasing peptides will increase appetite dramatically.
Gotcha.
Like MK is like, somebody will take MK because someone will tell them that it's a good idea. I'll see them a month later at the gym and they've gained 40 pounds. A lot of water weight. It's a disaster.
And so can you get the big thing with like MK, can you get some shutdown effects from this? Can this start to affect your androgen system? And
it does not appear. You mean like shut down the growth hormone production or androgen effects?
I'm thinking more androgen effects.
So theoretically, no. There should be no effect of taking like MK677, testosterone, ipamorelin, or growth hormone on the androgens. There may be a slight benefit because there are IGF-1 receptors and growth hormone receptors on your testicular cells. So theoretically, you may have some bigger testicular mass or more better testicular hormonal production from the growth hormone, but it's not going to be like that significant.
Gotcha. And then as far as the other question, like people taking this stuff or looking into taking it, and they're like, am I going to shut down my body's own production of growth hormone? Does that happen?
It does not seem like exogenous growth hormone or the growth hormone peptides do the same thing like exogenous testosterone would do, where you inject testosterone and it decreases it. But there hasn't been good data because there's a lot more data on replacing testosterone than replacing growth hormone. But it does not seem to be the effect.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to get on some growth hormone peptides. It sounds very interesting to me. So another thing I want to touch on with you are these peptide blends.
Yeah.
So peptide blends are being sold as this kind of like, because I think a big thing with these peptides is it just like gets very complicated to people where they're like, okay, I have to buy all these vials, I have to reconstitute them, I have to do the dosage, which it's very simple to do, but I think a lot of people just aren't intelligent.
Should have paid attention to chemistry, guys.
Yeah, like this is like pretty basic stuff. I mean, there's like peptide calculators online, like where it's like they make it very easy. And like for my BPC now, I'm like, I know exactly what to do. I'm like reconstituting that thing. My wife's like, what are you doing? Why are there so many, like what's going on here? But, and then like I'm holding up my ankle. So I hurt my ankle.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I like rolled it playing football, just like on like wet grass, like running around. And then it was like pretty swollen up, but not like super bad. Then Albert and I had the opportunity to go train with Michael Morales in Mexico and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Yeah. And it was like a little messed up. I remember like doing the warm-ups there and I was like saying, Albert, like, my ankle's cooked. And then you do 7 rounds with like professional UFC fighters. Every dude I rolled was like, I'm 4-0 in this organization. Oh, I'm 4. I'm like, okay. And it was fine. But the next day it like swole up a lot. And I'm like, damn, like whatever. It was worth it. So you were like, crank up that BPC. And so I'm like literally just, and like how like you kind of go about using BPC in your personal life, I'll say, and like how now I use BPC in my personal life. I'm being careful with the language, like that's all our personal lives, right?
Exactly.
So
personal testimony.
I like doing higher dose when I have like an actual area that's like injured. And so after we did our podcast, I started using it on my shoulder. And through a combination of corrective exercise, which we have low back ability here tomorrow, I've talked with really elite PTs. The ones who are really in the know all say the same thing. BPC is great. You have to pair it with your corrective exercise. If you don't have internal range of motion in your shoulder, it's not going to magically fix that.
No.
If you pair the two together and you start fixing that, guess what? That's going to be a superpower. So I am hitting my ankle with like big doses of BPC. Like 800 micrograms, maybe getting up to like a gram sometimes. And
a milligram or a gram?
Gram.
A BPC?
Yeah. 1,000. No. Milligrams.
I was like, bro, you're really rich, man. Like, dang, dude.
No. BPC.
How do you afford that?
Milligrams. So I get like the I have like one of the 10 milligram vials.
There you
and
go.
Yeah.
There
So
we go. That makes more sense.
Micrograms. Yes.
Yes.
Biggest dose of BPC ever. I'm running an experiment on myself, guys. But
there's no identified LD50 of BPC.
So I wouldn't have died, if I had done it wrong. No, but you'd have to have like a massive vial to have like
it'd be a massive bank account too, bro. That's
expensive stuff. So I've been hitting it with BPC, and I have to say the recovery is going really well. I'm obviously doing red light on it. So like we have to separate the dogs to feed them because we have a crazy puppy, and so I go in like the red light room to feed one of the dogs, give him some red light too, indirectly. But like I'm putting my ankle in front of that red light, good 10 minutes there. I'm hitting with BPC, and the most important thing, of course, I'm doing my exercises, my FRC, controlled articular rotations. Anybody can Google FRC, hip, ankle, knee, back, look into that stuff.
Awesome.
And then so pairing that, it's been amazing.
Awesome.
I really feel like it helps. So I don't know. How was I going to tie that?
You're asking about the blends.
Yeah, so now you see a lot of these blends being sold. So you see BPC with people are basically like, okay, well, BPC is good, copper GHK is good, TB500 is good. Why don't I throw a bunch of stuff together? And then I'm seeing videos of people going like they make these compounds inactive when you combine them. What do you think about all these blends?
The blends, first of all, we don't know if they get inactivated or not. There's a rumor that they do because of the different acidities. That sounds like it's a lot of just fishing for attention from different peptide things. Because now the game, guys, you have to understand. When it comes to peptides, it's who can get the most attention so they can get you on their research chem site and make money. Like there's people making 100, 200 racks a month, every month, just affiliating peptides. It's a very lucrative field. So people are making money. So they're going to try to get you attention, hooked, to get you on their websites and sell you peptides. So all the information, take with a grain of salt. Remember, this whole field in general, there's very little studies on it. For example, BPC, there's 2 human studies They were done with BPC rectal enemas,
Mm-hmm.
non-injectable BPC in your joint.
Why isn't this being studied? Is it
Yeah,
just because there's not a lot of money in it?
it's not even that conspiratorial. Like everyone's like, oh, the big pharma is suppressing BPC.
Yeah.
It's very simple. There's a company called Pliva in Croatia that had the BPC patent.
Mhm.
They did the phase 1 study in 2002. They did the phase 3 study, I think, in 2003 or 4. Sorry, phase 1 study in 2002, phase 2 study in 2003 or 4. For ulcerative colitis patients like IBD,
Mhm.
they did an enema BPC, 80 milligram enema. They had modest results with the enema. No side effects were noted. And that company was bought by another company called Teva. The patent is with Teva or another subsidiary company,
Mhm.
and no one's studying it. There's just no desire to bring it to market from a financial perspective. So that's that patent just sitting there. Like I joked that we should just crowdfund it and buy the patent back and then do the studies and get it FDA approved.
That'd be cool.
So there's no conspiracy. It's like big pharma is trying to suppress BPC. No, it's just literally you need probably $100 million to get BPC FDA approved.
Once you realize a little bit, guys, how studies are done,
Yep.
what it takes to do a really good study, you stop living a bit in this world of you need a study for everything.
Yep.
And you start to think in your mind, just logically, what would happen if they ran this imaginary health protocol that you want to do as a study? And you can start to really, I love going on PubMed. You're a doctor. You love going on PubMed. You love reading studies. Of course, it's amazing. But you guys have to start to think like a bit rationally of like, I want to start taking L-theanine at night. Okay, go read some of the research on L-theanine, and then you can think in your own mind, like, would it be beneficial for you as an 18-year-old to take 200 milligrams L-theanine? You're kind of overstimulated. Yes, probably.
Sure.
You don't have to have a perfect study for everything. A lot of the red meat debate gets thrown in there of like, oh, well, red meat, we surveyed 700,000 people and there was a slight increase in colon cancer. And we just laugh at that. And it's like, if you guys want to think of a imaginary study where, hey, these people ate some grass-fed beef and they worked out and they maintained
Yep.
good body weight, what happened? It's probably going to be good,
Yep.
And is that study ever going to get run? Probably not. Like,
Nope.
I've
Not worth it.
Paul Saladino was talking about he's going to do like an animal-based like foundation and run some of these studies. That'd be cool. But it's just hard to do.
It's hard to do, and on top of that, like there's intra and inter reliability when it comes to these studies. Like they did a study on 30-year-old white men, and so how do you, as a physician, now take that information and apply it to your 60-year-old female in clinic who's seeing you? So when it comes to BPC, there's 2 very small 12 patients and 53 patients.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, no one can find this. I published these studies out. The abstracts are there. If you can find the full studies, please send them to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm desperate to find them, but they exist.
Yeah.
They were done. They've been published in journals. One's in the gut journal, one's in the gastroenterology journal. But there were never any BPC studies done on injecting it into joints for humans. For mice, there's tons of those studies with Achilles injuries and all these things. The problem is, like, if I have a professional athlete in front of me who is in a league, which BPC is illegal, let's say, and they want to heal faster. Do I, as a physician, say, like, you know what? I'm not going to use BPC for you. Come back in 10 years once we have data. Or is the athlete going to fire me and say, you know what? I'll go to a different doctor that will get me optimized. So I, as a clinician, have to take the best available information and figure out what is best for the person in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
This person may win the next fight if they get on BPC and they recover better. They have better joint integrity, and now they're able to compete and get a gold medal or whatever, or belt, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the medical community attacks me for like, hey, there's no evidence for BPC. How can you prescribe it to patients? Hey, look, I'm sitting with the patient. I tell them this is not FDA approved. There is no good human data. We have a lot of great anecdotal data. In myself, in 2 of my joints, I have had amazing results. You've had amazing results.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much good results on it. Do I, as a physician, suspend all my ability to think and say, you know what, wait till the studies come out? Or to say, okay, we have this great product. There's risks to it. Do you understand the risks? Are you comfortable with those risks? Okay, let's move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't wait for a study and everything. You're going to be 20 years behind.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
And then like also like you can learn some stuff, right, from those rat studies. Like it is interesting. Like you're severing an Achilles tendon and you're blasting with BPC and it like grows back. Well, that's interesting.
Yep.
You know?
And the cool part is in that human study where they used the 80 milligram enema, there was no adverse effects noted. There was some positive effects on ulcerative colitis, which is a very difficult disease to treat. You usually need like biological therapies and immunotherapies for that. So it was interesting that there was a positive effect. So I think they were about to run the phase 3 trial, and then the company got bought.
Yeah.
And then now it's lost to history.
It's interesting. Very fascinating. So the next kind of class of peptides I want to get into is I see all these photos of Vladimir Putin, and behind him is this guy,
Yeah.
this doctor, this legendary
Yeah,
doctor,
yeah.
so to speak. And there's a lot of these Russian bioregulators and peptides. And you gave me a bottle of one called Panelon.
Yep.
And I've been taking that and seeing some improved scores of my
Oh
sleep.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what is this class of Russian nootropics? What are they doing over there in Russia?
So this is one of the coolest stories in medicine that I've come across. There's a guy named Dr. Vladimir Kavinzin. He's a USSR physician and researcher. He gets hired by the Soviet Union in the 70s. There's a story, there's a suggestion that the Americans are going to use laser weapons
Hmm.
to incapacitate Soviet soldiers. And there was concern about radiation poisoning. For example, the US embassy in Russia was being shot with radiation. So they actually put lead walls up
Wow.
to protect the embassy from radiation and spying and all these things. So there's a concern about these things happening. There's also concern about pilots, astronauts, and submariners, I guess we call them, because they would age so quickly. So if you actually go look at like the last astronauts that went up and came back, they look like they're 15 to 20 years older when they come back to Earth. So there was a concern like, hey, how can we take care of what they called premature aging syndrome? How can we de-age these people back to their baselines? And for a long time in Europe, there was an interest in using organs, particularly organs of younger animals, to treat certain diseases. They call this organotherapy. So it starts with Pavlov. Pavlov, the dogs, he'd ring a bell. The dog would start salivating, they'd eat the biscuit. Then he'd start ringing the bell with no biscuit, and then the dog would still salivate. Now, what Pavlov actually started doing, he started puncturing holes in dogs' stomachs to get gastric juices and giving that to people to treat different conditions with some effects.
Yeah.
He probably was giving them BPC without knowing it, because
yeah.
that's what's in the gastric juice. Now, Kavinzin saw himself as the research grandson to Pavlov.
Okay.
So he's like, hey, let's get organs from animals, grind them up, young animals, and inject them back into humans and see if we get positive effects. So he took these astronauts and submarine folk, and he would first did a pineal gland extract from a young cow, ground it up, injected it into people, and then a thymus extract. So you take a thymus from a young cow, grind it up, and inject it into humans, and he would notice their immune systems would get better, their sleep would get better, circadian rhythm, all these things, they'd kind of come back online and kind of undo some of the damage from the aging.
Was he injecting this like an IV, or like, are you talking
Intramuscular.
intramuscular injection of?
Yeah. I've actually gotten some of the Russian prescription grade products, and I've tried them out. They're actually quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, we had a buddy, a big
Don't do it at home, guys.
a
Please.
big grappler buddy who they went there for a tournament like in Russia or in like one of these countries, and they like had them go in and get a bunch of weird IVs, they said, from a doctor, and they were like, we performed like animals, like they were like revved up. Probably gave him some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So okay, so
he makes these blends, right?
Yeah.
From animals, and the first one's called epithylamine. It's like a pineal gland extract, and then he has thymolin, which is a thymus extract. And they like he even checked their immune cells, like they undo some immune damage. People would have higher melatonin levels, less cortisol production at night. All these things were positives. So then he starts looking for what are the peptides in these extracts that are causing the effect. So out of epithylamine, he found epithalon, which is a 4 amino acid peptide. He calls them bioregulators because they're short amino acids, and they just go into your nucleus of your cells and turn on or turn off certain genes.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's when you say bioregulator, it's not like a new peptide or anything. It's just that these are short 2 to 4 amino acid chains that Dr. Kavinzin discovered. So you guys heard about GHK. Technically, GHK is a bioregulator. It was not discovered by Kavinzin, so we don't call it a bioregulator. That's a 3 amino acid peptide that changes gene expression.
Gotcha. It's another one of those tripeptides. And so he's using animal organs to find these.
That's where he first found them. So he found epithalon. Then he got a blend called cortexin. So he got the cortex of cows, blended it up together, and injected it into people. They had TBIs, they had strokes, they had different things. He had some positive effects. Then he isolates from there pinealon. Pinealon's not from the pineal gland. That's why we'll say like, hey, pinealon's a pineal gland peptide. It's not. It's a brain peptide.
Okay.
I don't know why it's named like that. Someone has to ask him. Unfortunately, Vladimir Kavinzin is dead now.
Okay.
Under some suspicious circumstances, let's say.
Dun, dun, dun.
His death was very, very weird. Found dead in his apartment. You know how that works in Russia.
Yeah.
But he was a
5 gunshots. Oh yeah, he did it himself. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, you can go missing out there.
But he was actually administering these peptides to Vladimir Putin. And he
Mhm.
actually said that the reason Vladimir Putin was performing so well from a cognitive perspective and physical perspective into his 60s and 70s was because of these peptides.
Wow.
So that, he had like secret peptides that he'd only administered to his VIPs. We found the names of them. No one can find them online or where to buy them or how to get them. But they're like, he had a lung one, he had an adrenal gland one, he has a testicle injection. Like he has all these different peptides for bioregulators. The most interesting of them are the immune ones, the sleep ones, and the brain ones.
Wow. That's really interesting.
So that's the Penileon you're taking. So the
Yeah.
Penileon on the market now is synthetic. It's not from cow brains. I do have some of the Cortexin.
Hey, I'm trying to try that.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really interesting because like the old wisdom of like it's very interesting how liver is rich in like beef liver is rich in like copper and B12 and stuff that would
and peptides.
And
There's
peptides.
peptides in beef liver that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, totally. And then like like beef heart has stuff like CoQ10, which is beneficial for your heart health. Like there definitely is like a like supports like thing going on, and so that's interesting.
Heart has cardiogen, which Vladimir Kalvinson research said there might be some cardiac effects from this cardiogen peptide found in beef heart. For example, colostrum too. Colostrum has immune peptides, like thymic peptides in it. And actually, they measured thymosin alpha 1 levels in breast milk. It's very high in the first 3 months after delivery.
Wow, so like that lactoferrin and I'm kind of looking into doing like a colostrum lactoferrin supplement. It's just like I want to get like the actual good shit. Like there's so many of these giant companies now that it just like watered down the colostrum industry. Like we had a few samples sent off for testing, and it's like, like it's alright. You know what I mean? I want to find like some really good source, then maybe get some like lactoferrin in there. That could be really cool.
Yeah. I took some lactoferrin today.
Nice.
It's a daily driver for me.
Yeah, just like gut health, immune health. Yeah, that stuff's really cool.
So then he comes up with these peptides. The thymolin that you will find on the market nowadays is not the thymolin that Vladimir Kalvinson. So every research campsite is lying to you. It's the key thing to understand, guys. First of all, don't use research campsites. Second of all, the research campsites, they're selling thymolin, which is a polypeptide extract from thymus glands. What they're actually selling you is thymulin, a different peptide, completely different peptide.
Interesting.
That everyone's confused because the problem with the peptide field, and if anyone wants the field to be taken seriously, is that they have to be way more rigorous. That's what we're trying to bring to this field: like more rigor, more testing, more structured publication of information. But this field's kind of wild west.
It is the wild west, and like I do think it's gonna evolve, and like it's gonna help so many people. It kind of already is, but like people do have to just like experiment around. So like I want to go over like another because it's like you get like you go to these peptide websites. Like I go to some of them and I look at like the most popular ones because I'm interested like what are people doing right now, and we touched on a lot of them, which are tesamorelin, CJC, sermorelin, stuff like that. BPC is always at the top of that field, and then recently retatrutide was just like kind of wiped an attempt to like wipe it off of the internet basically. What is going on with that right now, and like why are people not able to buy retatrutide and other GLP agonists online as easy anymore?
Yeah, it sounds like the feds are about to raid some people. That's the rumor, at least. Either that's the rumor that's about to happen, or the peptide sites just leaked that out so people would buy more stuff. Like a FOMO type of play. Who knows? But what happened was GLP-1s come from animals too. Initially, it was a lizard that they found in saliva, the GLP-1 whole class of medications. But Reta is this next generation GLP-1 GIP glucagon receptor agonist. So semaglutide is just GLP-1. Tirzepatide has the GIP function added on, so you get more effects and less side effects. And then now Reta has the glucagon function added on, so it kind of changes the drug, makes it a more potent drug, but also I'd say more side effects. Retatrutide. So people think they're edgy. They're taking like, I'm against big pharma. I take retatrutide. Retatrutide is made by Eli Lilly. It's currently in phase 3. I think they've even published their phase 3 data already. It should be FDA approved sometime in 2026.
Gotcha.
It will be prescribed just like tirzepatide. They haven't even named it yet. So like tirzepatide will be sold as Mounjaro or Zepbound. There will be some kind of name that they'll come up with retatrutide. Now, Eli Lilly is not happy that they're losing money to all these research campsites selling retatrutide for tons of money. Like there's some peptide companies that have done over $200, $300 million a year in illegal gray market peptides, which is crazy. People want this drug. There's a bunch of FOMO online with all the influencers telling you that they lose so much weight. So Reta got kind of wiped off a lot of websites because there was a rumor that the DOJ, Department of Justice was going to come down and like regulate all these things and put people in jail and fine people for selling illegal copyright infringement peptides. They don't really care that much about the illegal BPC or TB500 because there's not as much money there as the.
There's not a representative in their ear from that company you talked about that owns this patent of BPC knocking on their door, taking them out to dinner, going, "Hey, this is stealing hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly even more from us." But with retatrutide, you have a very well-established company that has tons of influence in Washington,
a lot of money,
and they are talking to people, going, "Hey, we need to crack down on this because it's losing us a shitload of money."
Yeah, and on top of that, there was that whole Trump RX thing. So Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk agreed with the Trump administration that they would offer their brand name peptides at a very discounted price. So what's really weird about this is like if you went in to buy a Ozempic pen here, cash pay, it'd be like $1,500. If you drive down to Mexico and to the Costco in Mexico, it's $150. It's the same exact pen. A lot of people actually it became a business.
For sure. So okay, so with the retatrutide getting so popular, what I'm seeing a lot of out there is I had a dude come up to me at jiu-jitsu, lean. Don't get me lean. Maybe he could lose like 5-10 pounds.
So
and he's like, I'm getting on Reta, or he was on Reta. Why should people who are relatively lean, or maybe they're a little bit overweight, why should they not get on retatrutide?
Yeah, and the goal here is to have a very nuanced, balanced take. I've prescribed GLP-1 medications to thousands of people, and I also tell every people on a daily basis, do not take this. It's like it's a very balanced for like we talked about last time, the obese patient. Great idea to take one of these GLP-1 medications. Number one, retatrutide, we don't know the full side effect profile yet. We want to know what it actually does. I'm concerned about the glucagon aspect of it. I don't think it's as good as people think it is. A lot of people are having higher heart rates, less recovery, anxiety, panic attacks, blah, blah, blah. But to this specific case, you're young and healthy. Why do you need to take an exogenous medication to lose 5 to 10 pounds, knowing full well when you stop this medication, you will probably bounce back at least to that weight, or if not more. There's a study that came out on GLP-1 medications. They found that you bounce back to your previous weight 4 times faster using a GLP-1 and stopping it than just dieting regularly and then stopping the diet.
Dude, it like literally, you know what's a funny thing? And I was telling the kid is like when I sat down with my buddy Sills here, he like does a lot of like looking at like chronometer and like micronutrient levels in somebody's diet, right?
Yeah.
And what it seems the body was designed to do is do a lot of movement because to hit all your micronutrients, it gets extremely difficult to do when you're not getting a lot of calories in. And so if we talk about like intelligent design of the human body, it appears you're supposed to move a good amount. And when you look at just like a wide variety of normal diets, you could go plant-based, but you could, animal-based, like eating like a wide variety of foods. It seems like it gets very, very difficult to hit all your micronutrients when you start to hit these diets of 1,400 calories, 1,600 calories. It gets difficult to do. And so talking to this kid, I was like, well, he was like, I'm just never hungry. Like, he can't eat. He's like, I showed up to training, can't eat. Like, he's like, I haven't eaten for like 24 hours and I feel like not good. And it's like, think with a lot of these kids, if they put into these two baskets, like you're slightly overweight. We're not talking somebody morbidly obese. Talking a lot of these kids are just slightly overweight. They're worried about their face fat because all the looks maxing stuff. But it's like you're not like crazy overweight. You might be holding 20 extra pounds. Maybe 10 of that's water weight. So like you got to lose like 10 pounds and you'll be right where you want to be. Walking 10,000 steps, eating more protein, lifting some weights, dialing in sleep, or retatrutide. So many of these kids are going, I'm just going to do a low dose of Reta because it seems so easy. I don't have to change anything. I'll just naturally stop eating as much. And then my concern is they're like, dude, I'm not even eating. Well, now you're developing micronutrient deficiencies. So now you're going to cook your skin. You're going to start to cook your gut health. You're going to start to create your B vitamins are going to get low. So your neurotransmitters are going to get all fucked up. And it's like, I'm all for like, that's why I'm sitting down and talking with you. Like you're a fan of these things overall. And it's like, I'm not against science and, medical technology, but I'm like, we have to like step up and be like, yo, you're making a dumb decision sometimes. And that doesn't mean retatrutide is bad. Like Reta, good, bad. No, that's not what we're saying. Like it really just depends
good
on
or bad
context.
for who and when.
Exactly.
Like that same 19-year-old, maybe when they're 39, maybe Reta would be a good idea for them.
Absolutely.
Because the thing is like you're 19. Like I saw the other day, Clav is on 12 milligrams of Reta.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's high dose Retta. Yeah.
Holy crap. Like, dude, if he, like, the problem is eventually these drugs stop being as effective. Like, with time, your receptors down regulated, you become less sensitive to it. And now you're going to be needing a super high doses of Retta just to not gain weight. And then what happens when you're 40 and now your receptors are all down sensitized and now you're gaining weight on these medications.
Mhm.
So like, use these medications when you need them down the line, kind of like the TRT discussion. Like, save it for when you need it. Same thing with the GLP-1s. Like, for example, I'm about to do my pre-Ramadan cut. Right? I finished my pre-Ramadan bulk. I'm putting on some muscle. I'm going to cut some weight. I have access to all these medications. I can manage them better than anyone else. I'm not using them.
Yeah.
I'm not using a tirzepatide or retatrutide or semaglutide. I can prescribe it and have it, right? I'm not using it because I don't want to be bouncing back afterwards, number one. Number two, I don't want to need them for the next 30, 40 years of my life. I'll save it for, like, if I become insulin resistant in the future, I'll pull it out. But why now? Like, you can just make the lifestyle changes. You're going to have better results. You can have all these micronutrient deficiencies. And you're going to get injured more frequently because you're not getting collagen, you're not getting glycine, you're not getting all these things in your diet. Your performance tanks. A lot of people on Retta, they'll have high heart rate during workouts. They can't, do a hit as effectively. They can't grapple as effectively. They get nauseous during grappling. It's just not a good idea. And it's not like, oh yeah, just jump on and get off. It's not that as safe as people think it is. Just do that because we do not know what happens for somebody to be on a GLP-1 medication for 30 years.
Yeah, we have no reliable
idea.
data. And we have really like good data because of the diabetes
Yes, for 20
studies.
years.
Yeah, okay, so 20 years. And yeah, so that does get into like this discussion around testosterone for me and like a lot of young people doing testosterone. I think my big concern with a lot of these things, just like we were talking about, is it does complicate your life. Like if we're literally just looking at fucking like your day to day and week to week, I do not see how so many 19, 20, 22-year-olds are going to manage all this stuff that they're doing, where they're doing they're doing some growth hormone stimulating peptides, and then they're doing GLPs. I don't get how they're going to manage it, and I think the answer is they're not. And a lot of them, like with the testosterone side of things, aren't doing the blood work
Nope.
around it, and they're having suppression, they're having shutdown, and they don't know how to restart their testicles. And it just seems like, okay, like one of the reasons, like I'm like, oh, like I hope I can just be natural for as long as possible, is no more complicated than I travel so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to like deal with this stuff. I know there's different things
Vials
you can do,
and
and
stuff,
yeah, bring in vials and this, and it's like if I can just be natural for as long as possible, I don't have to deal with all that. More blood work, weekly calls with you when I'm like 90 years old, dog. I'm gonna be like calling you every
Let's
single
do it.
week. I'm gonna be on speed dial. I'm trying to live to 140.
There you go.
But I actually, a lot of people got upset when I said I think I'm gonna live to be 140. I don't think it's that crazy.
Yeah, Cavinson actually thought that we all have the potential for 120,
Okay.
but we lose cellular reserves, and he thought his peptides
Would
would bring your reserves back. Because on
Yeah.
average, you'll find in every country somebody who's like around 120, 130.
Mhm.
So his idea was everyone has the potential for that, but you lose reserves along the way
Yeah.
from genetics or from stress, from stem cell exhaustion, whatever it may be. And if you supplement with these peptides and stem cell therapies and
Sure.
hormones, you can kind of bring that back up.
Yeah, my thought is like, okay, like I'm a very healthy person. I have, some money. So I'm like, once we get to the year 2050, 2060, like who knows what's going to be available at that point. And the thing is, dude, I'm not a crazy longevity guy.
Mm.
Like when I see like Brian Johnson's like live forever thing, or people having these really niche debates about longevity, like it appears like there's like this like kind of push and pull between like, if you want to like do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
like I do, you want to surf, you want to like feel really good, kind of like that anabolic like feeling of like, I'm lifting weights, I'm surfing, keeping my IGF-1
Yeah.
levels like high, like stuff like that. And then the anti-aging community is like, oh, but like I want to
IGF-1s.
live forever. But it's like, and they're like, I don't work out, like I don't work out hard because it's gonna like make you age, and shit. And it's like, I'm all focused on health span.
Yep.
And like if I can feel healthy and good, like that is what I go for. I don't care if I pass away in my 80s, as long as I
Your
live a healthy
joints,
life.
you're able to
Yeah.
walk. Like that's the other thing, like to take care of your joints and take care of your mental health and your vitality. And the goal is to find the intersection of where health span and lifespan intersect and
100%.
really dial those in. But I'm not going to trade my vitality now for a long lifespan benefit. So if it's on
100%.
outside of the Venn diagram on the right side, I don't care about it.
For sure. No, I'm the same way. I'm 100% the same way.
Maybe I'll change when I get older. Maybe you'll change when you'll get older, because that changes your perspective on things. But that's the thing. Like these young kids, do you intend to be on a GLP-1 for the next 50 years of your life?
Jeez. What if like a massive pandemic hits?
Yeah.
These kids can't get their illegal test and GLP. Like you're gonna be like not feeling good. Hopefully you don't have like a girl or a wife at that time, and then you have like no test.
Well, we don't know what the effects of GLP-1s on fertility metrics down the line. For example, there's a lot of people that will be infertile, take a GLP-1, and then become more fertile because they've lost the weight.
Mhm.
But what is the effect on the egg and sperm quality and the future kid?
Mhm.
Because a female, when she's taking the GLP-1, her eggs are being exposed to that. Because when you're born as a female, your eggs are already there.
Mhm.
All your set of
Yeah.
eggs are already available for you. So you take that GLP-1 now, it's going to influence you. For a man, you have a little bit more of a buffer because the sperm that comes out today probably was developed 60 to 90 days ago. Now,
Interesting.
the father stem cells of the sperms has been around for longer, but the cell that just comes out is a newer 60 to 90 day cell. So like that's a washout period.
Mhm.
There's some data like if a guy works out more, his sperm have better epigenetic
Mhm.
signaling for the baby. So we don't know what the effects of that are. So like you're 19, you're gonna have kids someday. You don't have a frontal cortex developed to be able to make decisions. We don't know what the long-term effects of these are on like different rates of conditions. I'm not gonna say it so we don't get this clip removed. But you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So like
No, totally.
we don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It seems like, like stuff like BPC, TB500, GHK, testosterone, sermorelin, they seem like more easy for people to dip their toe into
Mm.
versus a lot of other things, whether you look at testosterone or anabolic steroids or some of these like retatrutide. It seems like those you have to be a bit more careful with.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything deserves care and very careful caution with it. Especially like, yeah, there's a concern about BPC. Does it increase the risk of cancer? There's no animal studies to suggest that. There's no human studies done enough to be able to say that. There's a potential mechanism of the VEGF,
Mhm.
although BPC in some studies lowers VEGF. Is it a condition? Like if someone I prescribe them BPC, I'll tell them, hey, this is a potential risk. Just keep that in mind. If you have an active cancer, do not take it. Do you understand the risks? Yes, no. If no, then don't take it.
Mhm.
But you're right. When it comes to these stronger, like the bioregulators, they're kind of just a nudge in the right direction. Like the
Yeah.
epinephrine will nudge your circadian rhythm back to a more optimal state. Phenylalanine will nudge your brain to a more optimal state. Thymolin will produce better thymic output. But it's not like hammering your GLP-1 receptor to like don't eat, or
Yeah.
testosterone blasting your receptors and you're putting on 30 pounds of muscle. It's a very different conversation.
Totally. One thing I wanted to hit on with you was this nattokinase enzyme.
Yeah.
So nattokinase, serapeptase, it's something my other functional medicine doc told me to get on a while ago, and then you told me to get on them. So I have been taking them. Why are you a fan of those?
So nattokinase is early in its research life, but I am quite optimistic about it. There's nattokinase is an enzyme from the natto, Japanese food product, and it's a fibrinolytic enzyme. So it breaks down fibrosis clots. And there was a big excitement around it during the pandemic because of the idea that there was more clotting happening and yada, yada, yada. Now, 3 things that I'm interested in looking at the long-term evidence for nattokinase. Number 1, there's some suggestion that it will lower blood pressure in
Mhm.
people. Number 2, there's some suggestion that it will improve endothelial function. So the layer of cells between your blood vessel and the blood, those cells improves the function there. And number 3, does it lower lipids and or stop lipids from going into the cell wall and causing those plaques? There's some evidence on some of them both ways. But what's interesting is there's a hope that it may be anti-plaque, anti-clotting.
Interesting.
So then if somebody has a risk of heart disease, you could potentially decrease the clotting risk
Mhm.
from them. So that's why I'm cautiously optimistic about them and hopeful that they will pan out. There's a good amount of studies being done about them. They're not very large, but I think that we'll look back in 10 years and realize nattokinase was a gem for that.
And then for people who have gotten this shot that
Mm.
was forced on a bunch of people, there's like this idea that like combining nattokinase with bromelain can basically undo a lot of that.
Yeah.
Is that like something that
That sounds like a lot more marketing than it
It
is
does, yeah.
actual science.
Mhm.
If someone has any data, I'd love to look at it. But no one's studying this stuff
Yeah.
because of
No, totally.
reasons that are clear to everybody.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you two more things. One, when you look at heart health
Yeah.
and the landscape of heart health right now, there's a bunch of different camps. It's a crazy world out there. But what are your overall takes on heart health? Are you like, telling your patients to avoid saturated fat, or how are you looking at like labs for them with heart health? What's your kind of overall thought there?
Overall thought on heart health, I think you're talking about preventing
Well,
coronary vascular
so
disease.
most people, like I talked to my mom, and my mom goes to like the normal doctor, and they go, "Your LDL's a little high. We're gonna put you on a statin."
Yeah.
And it just seems extremely outdated and very just like a shallow look at heart health when I listen to all these experts on different podcasts and you hear, oh, VO2 max, you hear HbA1c,
Yeah.
triglycerides, ApoB. Like it seems like the field is evolved past where most people are going to their doctors. They're being told one thing: your LDL's a little high. Can we put you on a statin?
Mhm.
Or if they're young, your LDL's a little high. Don't eat meat. So that's what a lot of people are being told. And I feel like it's evolved out of that. And it's like people aren't
There's
getting the
there's
messaging.
this counter alternative movement of like LDL doesn't matter, which I think is also too extreme. And
I do too.
there's the movement of you have a statin for every LDL problem that you have. So I think there's a balance there. The way I look at it is that the fastest way to get coronary atherosclerotic disease is to have insulin resistance with high lipids.
Mhm.
Anyone who has an A1C above 7, 8, 9, and their LDL is over 200, you're going to know that this person's going to get a heart attack. So we want to mitigate against those things. So the most important thing is you don't want to have metabolic syndrome. So metabolic syndrome is this syndrome that we just diagnose on people that have key health markers that are out: their blood pressure, their HDL, their triglyceride levels, their BMI, or their circumference of their abdomen. We do not want to be there. Now, when it comes to a patient that I intake, I will look, number one, I want to see your family tree. If you tell me that everyone in your family has heart attacks in their 40s and you have an uncle that's died in their 30s or wherever it may be, we're going to be way more aggressive and lean on the side of, hey, LDL is bad for you, versus somebody that tells me, you know what, everyone in my family lives to 90, no one has heart attacks.
Mhm. And this
Yeah.
might be why you see some of these studies where people
Yes.
have high LDL and they live a very long time.
Yep.
And then you see other ones where people have high LDL and they get hit with
Yes.
a heart attack.
Yeah, heart attack, strokes, and peripheral vascular disease. So there's that factor, like family tree. If somebody is at higher risk, I will be more aggressive in screening with either a coronary coronary calcium score that will shoot a CT scan of their heart, look how much calcium is in the arteries. So if you're young and it's negative, so there's no coronary calcium, great, we expected that to be. But if you're young and you have any coronary calcium, do not stop. Do not pass go. Stop. We're gonna go. We're gonna be more aggressive in mitigating your risk factors for heart disease, whether that's from a insulin resistance perspective or a lipid perspective. And then you can get a coronary angiogram or CT angiogram, which will look at how much plaque is actually in your arteries. So you can see how much damage has already been done.
Yeah.
A little bit more granular than the calcium score. It's a little bit more costly as well. So then you can see like, hey, has your diet over the last 20 years of your life been positive or negative for heart disease? Now, when it comes to the question about saturated fat, some people, when they eat saturated fat, they make way more LDL than they would otherwise. They're just hyper responders. They do keto and their LDLs are above 200, 300. Those people, there's a big debate now in the two camps of, are those people, because they're so insulin sensitive, protected from heart disease, or they have the same risk? I lean that probably they're still at a little bit of risk.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of particles they have of cholesterol. Now, you could treat cholesterol without using a statin. There's, ezetimibe, bempedoic acid. There's Repatha. There's an injection you take that actually makes your cholesterol go down to like 30, 40, 50. So there's better medications on the market. The problem is the statins are cheap and widely available, and every family medicine doctor just puts people on them.
Yeah.
So it's very nuanced to look at. If somebody still wants to eat their saturated fat, we can use other medications to lower their cholesterol. There's some supplements, citrus bergamot and berberine, that may also have beneficial effects. But number one, we're going to hit no insulin resistance allowed. We're going to treat that first. And then if we're worried enough about the LDL, we're going to treat that as well.
I wish people knew their like HbA1c more, because it's like, you talk to most people, like they'll kind of know their like blood pressure, their cholesterol, and like HbA1c, just like, I don't know, like a lot of these metrics, these lab tests, and this is going to be a parlay into my next question. Like, I have realized how fucked the medical system is through a lack of lab testing. Like, as a doctor, why is the medical system so cooked right now? And what can be done about it?
So the reason the medical system is not as progressive when it comes to testing is that we only test for disease. The medical system is set up to treat disease, and it's very good at that actually. Like
Yeah.
you have some kind of crazy accident, you need your elbow surgery, you're on bypass for whatever heart issue you have. Our medical systems, you come to one of these university hospitals around us, you're gonna have a great experience. The problem is that's for pathology, pathogenesis. For salutogenesis or the creation of health, these metrics and these systems are not designed for that. For example, if you go into your doctor and say, I want to check my vitamin D levels, they technically can't check that level for you and get insurance to cover it unless there's a condition, an ICD-10 code associated with that condition.
Mhm.
So they don't have to say like, oh, do you have a history of low vitamin D? No, then I can't. Your
Yeah.
insurance is not going to cover it. Well, how do I know if I have low vitamin D?
Oh, people
If I don't
post
check
these
it.
people post these scripts on
Yeah.
Reddit to say to their
Yep.
doctor to get lab work. And I financially I got out of that world and now I
Yes.
just buy lab tests myself, but
Yep.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's fucking expensive. And there's so many lab tests that are available right now that give you such good data on
Mhm.
what's going on. And it is very frustrating sitting here and being like, do like multiple times per year. I do a GI map, I do a
Yeah.
Dutch test, I do in-depth blood work. I took 14 vials of blood, and we got a bunch of metrics back. And even stuff like pre-nuvo, I went and did early cancer and tumor detection, and I'm going to do that again when I'm older. And it's like, shit, like we've really kind of entered a world where there's like the have and have
Yeah. It's
nots.
unfortunate.
But the good thing about that, guys, is if you are able to save up and spend $1,000 a year, maybe, and you really know what to do, you're going to be well ahead of everybody. Or if you know what to say to your doctor, if you find a good doctor, which is like almost an impossible thing to do. But yeah, like what can somebody do out there?
Dude, like A1C test is less than $10.
Mhm.
Like it's very cheap. The insurance will bill it much more expensively, because they can get more money out
So
of it.
Quest, you're like a fan of like Quest Direct for like most people?
Yeah, I mean, like
whatever
there's
it is.
all these like private MD labs.
Yeah, private MD
not
labs.
affiliated with any of these Ulta. There's a bunch of these.
And you can
tests.
go on these guys. You can just create an account. You can
Yeah.
order blood work. There's so many locations. If you're in any
Vanguard
city in the
is another
United
one.
States, you go there. You just scan a QR code that you've just bought online.
Yeah.
You do some lab work. And yeah, like when I was young, bro, like I would be like going through their thing and seeing, I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I can get vitamin D check. That's cheap. Like
Yes.
that's easy. I can get HbA1c.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
easy. Okay, testosterone. Like maybe I can just afford like looking at my
Yeah.
testosterone. Because like literally like you start to add up these things and it quickly gets to like a $300, $400, $500 bill.
Yeah.
But what can somebody do out there? Let's just say like $1,500 a year they're willing to throw at like lab work outside of what they can do with their doctor. What are some kind of things that somebody can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot actually to spend on labs. You
It's a
should,
lot.
You should know your A1C, your lipids. You should look at a CBC panel. Look at your lymphocytes and monocytes to see kind of how your immune function is doing, which we got to talk about later. You got to do. No, his immune function is great. You guys, don't assume anything. But we're gonna get
I'm
better.
trying to dial everything in.
Yeah, we're
perfect.
Yeah, well, great's not good enough for us. We want it to be excellent.
I want 140. Guys.
Yeah, exactly. See, you want a CBC, A1C, lipid panel, vitamin D. You want probably a fasting insulin on top of that. An ApoB is going to be better than the LDL.
Mhm.
So ApoB is actually counting how many receptors are on their particles. So you can see a very more nuanced, granular take on how much your cholesterol is at risk or not. Because sometimes people will have a normal LDL but a higher ApoB, and ApoB is probably more predictive. You want to one-time check your LP little a. LP little a is a marker that makes your LDLs more atherogenic. So you could have a normal LDL, but your LDLs are actually worse than they would be otherwise. So you want to know LP little a once at least. If you're a young man, I think you should know your testosterone levels. So get a total testosterone, a free testosterone, SHBG, and then potentially LH, FSH. Because what you want to know is, if my testosterone when I was 25 was 700, I felt great, and now I'm 50 and I don't feel so great. My testosterone's 300. Maybe that's the reason. But if your testosterone was 500 when you're 25, 500 at 50, you're at the same testosterone. Testosterone's not the reason you're not feeling so good.
Totally.
So you want baselines there. You then you can get more fancy with your lab work as you go in, like looking at the ferritin level. It kind of makes sense, and it was useful when we checked it for you. Looking at your B vitamins potentially if you're on a diet that's not so high in animal products, especially if you have like the MTHFR polymorphisms. If you're getting spendy, you can look at some mitochondrial testing. Like,
Oh, I'm so excited. We just did when I swabbed my
Did you get the
cheek.
results yet?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll text my wife and
Yeah,
see if they
yeah.
came in. But like, yeah, we mailed it out not too long ago. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's the thing, guys. There's all this like cool stuff out there, and it's like a lot of it, yeah, like it is like expensive. But you know, when I have like somebody come to me, man, with like really bad like acne that won't go away or something, it's like, bro, it's worth it to get a GI map. Like Dr. Justin, who runs a bunch of GI maps, like, dude, he fixes some people, not everybody, don't get me wrong, but some people like that.
Wow.
Like, dude, like they do a GI map and he's like, you have a pair. Like when I was young, that's how I met this guy. I went to Costa Rica, came back, and my skin was like worse than ever. And I was just like, what is going on? I go into him, he's like, not even knowing me. He's like, this, that. I'm telling him something. He's like, were you in a tropical location over the last 3 months? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you get sick there? I'm like, yeah, I just got food poisoning. No big deal. He's like, no. Run the GI map. I have
Parasite.
cryptosporidium.
Yeah,
It's
there
a
you go.
parasite. We get rid of it. And it's just like this radical change. And, you know, it's like, it's, I guess, frustrating because like, you know, and I'm going to talk with Low Back Ability about this tomorrow because he does a lot of content about how a lot of men off themselves, I say for YouTube, because of like back pain.
Yeah.
And a lot of men and women off themselves or just fall into deep depressions because of health stuff and because health oftentimes manifests in this vain way, whether it be a skin condition, whether it be someone who just feel like they can't control their weight, whether it be neurotransmitter stuff where someone feels a certain way, they have an anxiety issue, they can't sleep, all this stuff. And you and I know if you just got a hold of that person and could run certain labs and they had the discipline to do what you told them to do, let's say money was an option, you tell them this, you know that they wouldn't feel like that.
Yep.
And,
and then talk to them and actually ask them questions. That's the other key thing. Like for me, the physical exam and the interview is so important for
it's so important. Like I know what's like, if anything, if I have any like months that are like bad for me with health, I know what it is. It's overtraining and overwork. It's like so easy
Stress,
for me to stress. And it's like, I bring that stress on myself and like, I love it. So there's like this balance you got to find. But it's like, yeah, with some of my blood work with like the SHBG and stuff and other things, like overtraining can be like lead to this. And I'm like, bro, like some days I just overtrain because I love it. And so the last thing I kind of want to ask you is like, in your personal life, what do you like doing? You're obviously big into powerlifting at some point in your life. Tell people about that. Like, let's see some.
While I was in med school, I was a competitive powerlifter. I think I had a Colorado record for deadlift for a while.
Was that your like best lift? What did you like?
Yeah, like 7-plate deadlift, which is what, like 675.
That's so crazy.
While I was in med school.
It's not good for longevity, Abood.
Yeah, right. The funny thing is, I've actually, thank God, never been injured deadlifting. Ever in my life, never been hurt deadlifting. Because I was always like very methodical. I had a very clear way of form and function, making sure everything was firing on all gears. If it wasn't, I wouldn't do the lift. Yeah. I've been hurt doing stupid stuff. Like I got the tricep injury was during skull crushers. Like it was stupid.
Yeah.
Then I got into jiu-jitsu. Getting back into jiu-jitsu now that my ACL is healing up. Unfortunately, ACLs are not good in jiu-jitsu.
It happens, yeah. Jiu-jitsu is it's just a tough sport.
But like you said, like the reason I tore my ACL that was my third workout of the day.
Yeah.
I was in residency. I finished my residency clinic and I did 3 workouts that day between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m.
I know. I'm getting smarter now that I get older. Like some days I'll just go to jiu-jitsu and like you're saying, like I know I'm like, okay, I had a flight yesterday and I did like a weird like weightlifting thing yesterday. Then I got on a plane. And it's like, I'm getting a bit more intelligent where I'm like, I'm just going to get crushed in guard today and like half guard. And I'm just going to like work on my frames. And when I was younger, like you're just like, you don't even think about that stuff. And so then you're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense that I got injured. But okay, so powerlifting. And then I guess I want to parlay that into like, what do you do for like diet and like kind of like daily routine stuff that you like to do?
Yeah, I like to live a dichotomous life, which means when the sun's up, I like to go very hard, very aggressive. We're working super hard, phone calls, doing all this patient work, whatever it is. And at night, I try to relax as much as possible and get the opposite of that. I've been really working on that lately because I'm more type A, always go. Trying to like let go of that and trying to be a little bit slower because I noticed my recovery metrics were not as good. Then that injury really like woke me up to that because I would be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to grind. I'm going to wake. Sometimes I'd have a 28-hour shift. I'd wake up before that to start filming content at 4 a.m. Because I was like, it's the grind. I got to go. But then you get hurt and it's not worth it. So it's to be very dichotomous, work very hard during the day, see patients, work out. Now I'm just trying to like lose some of the muscle. Actually, like there's too much muscle mass on this frame. I have a myostatin deficiency.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did talk about this.
So I put on muscle a little too easily, so I'm just trying
Oh,
to
poor doctor.
lean out a little bit.
Yeah.
Problem is that, but like my BMI is always like off the charts. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're class 2 obesity. I'm like, no, I'm just
No,
a
it's
guy.
I mean, dudes that are like really jacked and like dudes that are really big and jacked. Like we have our buddy Todd. He's like a 6'4" like MMA fighter, huge, and we're like, we don't have too many more years with Todd. Like you just don't see these dudes like 90 years
They
old
don't
like
live that
walking
long,
around.
no.
Like you just don't see it. So short kings, we up. We're gonna be alive at 140, man.
Yeah, no.
Let's go. But like,
Actually, yes. There's like no NBA player above 6'7", 6'9" that lives past 70
they don't live
something.
that long.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Antagonistic pleiotropy.
Yeah.
That's what they call that.
Yeah.
But workouts, I do like 2 bodybuilding sessions a week. I will do my rehab for my various injuries, and then now I'm really into like HIIT twice a week on the assault bike,
Yep.
or some kind of like boxing training, and then I've been getting into rowing.
Yeah.
As my zone 2 to zone 3
For sure.
training method. Nutritional, it's like I eat whatever's culturally appropriate with minimal processed foods.
Yeah.
That's like when my mom cooks, my family makes. That's what I'm gonna eat. Try to avoid some of the seed oils. I know it's controversial. Like seed oils are okay.
Dr. Abood avoids seed oils. No, come
Yeah,
on,
I
you
know,
gotta be
but
drinking
my
the
dad
little
has,
soybean
my dad
oil.
has become a seed oil Nazi. Like he is so anti seed oil now.
I love that, dude. No, I turned like my grandma and auntie like into like anti-seed oil because like they grew up using ghee and coconut oil, and so and then like someone tells them not to.
Yes.
You know, and it does make the food a lot more delicious in many recipes.
Yes.
So like it was pretty easy to get them like, oh yeah, you don't have to use this canola oil in plastic. They're like,
No, there's actually a good discussion about this. Dr. Tia and Dr. Lane Norton had a discussion with it, and I came out of it like I went into it like I want to be neutral. I'm just gonna like listen and see where it goes. I realized the data is really crappy. Like I wasn't convinced. Like I was like, you couldn't convince me either way based on what you guys presented.
oh, I totally agree. This is why like I do like eat some seed oil sometimes when I go out to eat, or like I don't like worry about them like at restaurants and stuff. And it's like I avoid them at home. I think it's like what I guess like with that discussion that they had, I do think Lane Norton gave a very like political answer when Peter T is like, well, so if somebody's gonna cook French fries, like tallow, or because there is a study where they compare the fryer performance of various oils, and I think it was soybean oil and rice bran oil produced more benzoate pyrene, where beef tallow didn't. And so it seems pretty rational to me that if you're somebody that doesn't have to over concern themselves with saturated fat, then why would you not choose the oil used at high heat that produces less benzoate pyrene? It seems pretty rational to me, but I know Lane is very sort of pro seed oil, so he like didn't want to kind of say like I would probably eat the beef tallow French fries. You know, it's like I think these two groups find common ground for the most part with olive oil.
Yes.
Like with extra virgin olive oil, with avocado oil. And, but like, again, I'm not somebody that if I'm making an Asian recipe and it has sesame seed oil, I'm like, holy shit, the omega-6 is, and like the Vital Farm egg thing that came out. You see all that where people are like, it's the same as eating seed oils. It's not.
No,
it's literally not. And like, sure, there's
like
probably
I'll do a lot of tahini, and tahini is rich in seed oils. Like my grandma's hack during the winter was to take a spoon of tahini to warm yourself up. There's actually some evidence that maybe seasonally appropriate seed oils in the winter may be good.
Dude, I mean, like nuts and seeds, like I don't omit them from my diet. I'm not trying to get like a major protein source, but like some almonds, like oh no, omega-6, like that's not guys, you're not gonna hit some dangerous levels of omega-6 through eating some nuts and seeds. Do I think you should like get one of those almond flour like protein powders and blast that? No, you're gonna get some pretty crazy levels like that. But like, yeah, people just I think definitely lose their minds a bit with it.
Yeah, and that's why like my biggest focus is on health when it comes to is getting my HRV up, getting my resting heart rate down, recovery, like getting really quality sleep with at least 2 hours of REM, 2 hours of deep in 6.5 to 8 hours a night, average sleep. With my HRV being around 70 to 100 is the goal for my physiology. Some people will be like 150 to 200. It depends on your individual physiology. Wake up rested every day. Using some of these peptides like epithalon and panylion is going to help out with that. As we talked about, like big onto figuring out the thymus. That's the question of 2026 is how can you regenerate someone's thymus or stop the decline that happens? A lot of that stress induced. Some of that might be from androgens. We kind of have to figure that out. No one talks about the thymus enough. So because you want to be immune. Like this is the first winter in the hospital where I don't get sick. I'm exposed to all these infections in the hospital from all these patients, but we've been playing around with some immune peptides, and I don't get sick anymore.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see if we can keep that up. I've been able to increase some of my immune cell markers, so that's the interesting thing we've been working on and trying to figure out how we can share that with everybody else. But low stress, high immunity, high recovery, which leads to high androgens, high performance, more financial success, more happiness in life, better family relationships. If you're mentally and cognitively more focused and have less brain fog, everything in your life gets better.
100%.
So then you get better gym performance. I don't want to get injured anymore, because before I'd be like doing crazy stuff, trying to do muscle ups and crazy. I'm like, dude, let's just keep it safe, keep your joints protected. Because if you want to live to 140 and your knees don't work,
yeah, that cooks people. And that's why you're seeing some people live longer. My grandma got a knee replacement at Stanford Hospital.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like tripping about it because it went really well. It went great. And it's like Stanford's so dialed in.
Yeah.
Western medicine, let's go. But I'm like, that is a longevity hack that was not there 30 years ago. They got so much better at those. And like, she does all her healthy stuff. She walks and all this stuff. And it's like, that just made her live a lot longer than before. Your knees cooked forever. Gone. Like, yeah. So like a lot of that stuff is like absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the stem cells now, there's mu cells.
Should I go to Tijuana and just get stem cells? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know, man. This stuff, some of them are shady.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I need to like really figure out like what the deal is with stem cells, because like I want to like my like gut feeling is like go do stem cells. That's such like a broad question. I need to like. Why don't you get obsessed with stem cells, research it in depth, and then I know you'll be able to tell me where to go.
I have a couple of doctors. Like if I was going to get stem cells now, I have a doctors that I would go to. I've done my own stem cells. They took it out of my spine. And
just like at home,
it's my knee. No. I did it at a clinic. It was marginally effective.
Okay.
It wasn't anything to write home about. The interesting thing is using these mu stem cells are reprogrammed to be more youthful and see if there'll be positive effects there that people swear by them. I think that will be big in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all of the peptides, I don't want to be injecting anything on a day-to-day basis. Like, people think like, oh, you're talking about peptides, you're taking 30 things. I actually don't care to take that many things. I try to minimize the amount of supplements I take and minimize the amount of peptides I take.
Totally.
And like whatever I need, if there's a certain outcome endpoint that I need, like after an injury, BPC, great. I want to minimize everything else. Like I might investigate an SS31 or a MOTC or a GHK copper, but the goal is to like have it orally bioavailable, like the Pithlon, Pinilion. Lately, I've been really focusing on the mitochondrial function, because on my MitoMe test, it showed that one of my mitochondrial complexes was downregulated. And I have a genetic marker that makes me make less CoQ10. So I've been taking high doses of ubiquinol with PKQ to improve that. I'm going to retest and see if I've repaired that mitochondrial deficit. So like those kind of supplements are interesting. I'll always be testing things because people will send me things like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
I'll get some, I'll test it. But the goal is not to be healthy for the sake of health. Like I tweeted that out today. Like health is a means to an end. It's like, how can you be the healthiest version of yourself so you can do what you want to do?
100%.
Not because like you want to masturbate about how great your health markers are.
It's so true. And this is why like I think it's why a lot of people like what I'm doing. Like they see that like I'm
living life,
being healthy to live more of a rich life. And I love like trolling when people are like, you don't drink soda, like you're not living life. I'm like, brother, that is not living life. Like that is not like, if that's where you're at in life, where like drinking a red 40 soda is like, this is the best day ever. Like then you need to restructure your life. And like, yeah, like I'll do things that aren't perfect for my health sometimes in the sake of like fun, like maybe some travel, maybe some overtraining, stuff like that. But I've never, been somebody who's like, oh, like eating this like crumble cookie is my definition of fun. And it's like,
you don't feel good afterwards anyways.
You don't feel good after. Like, I'm trying to feel good in the moment. That's the
too many crumble cookies in his life. You don't feel like dude, the problem is hospitals.
20 minutes after.
There's so many crumble cookies. Like people, like nurses will bring crumble cookies.
Oh yeah, nurses. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah,
each one's like 1,000 calories. Like, dude, it's not good.
Yeah, well, I'm doing a crumble, a healthy cookie event, February 28th. We're protesting crumble.
Are they trying to sue you or?
I hope not. They can't. I have a good lawyer. I talked to my lawyer. I'm like, we're gonna serve these like healthy cookies like at my meetup, and I'm like, and he's like, all right, like you can't call it, like you can't like spell it the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an interesting.
Because you've been banned from a couple gyms, right?
Yeah, I'm banned from 24-hour fitness, bro. That's the only gym I'm banned from.
Why? Because you filmed there?
No, the dude said I was selling my electrolytes in there. A manager, and he reported me to corporate. Said I'm selling them in there. I never was. We give them out for free. Outside of the gym. And yeah, so he just
the electrolytes are good.
Yeah,
man.
so the electrolytes, we're talking Ramadan. So
yeah, Ramadan's in less than a month.
And we have a lot of DMs from people that use these during Ramadan. So
I actually wrote the book on it, like on hydration during Ramadan.
Nice.
It's the first chapter in my Ramadan guidebook.
How can somebody hydrate during Ramadan?
They
properly?
should. I would say, like in the mornings, I would take a scoop of these actually, and I'm not being paid to say this.
Let's go.
Last year actually DM'd you about it. I was taking these. These are pretty good electrolytes because you're getting like a gram of sodium, you're getting some potassium, some magnesium in there. So the hydration, we're not camels, right? You can't just drink a bunch of water. Like what Muslims will do is they'll wake up in the morning and they'll drink like 5 cups of water.
Try to just like stock up.
Yeah. We don't. That's not how hydration works. You end up just pissing that all out.
Yep.
In the next 3 hours, and it's miserable. But if you use the right combinations of some kind of sugar and some kind of salt, you have these sodium glucose co-transporters that increase the amount of water you can
You're
uptake.
actually absorbing water.
Yep. So then, like, eat some dates, take some electrolyte powder. If you don't want to have electrolytes, some salt in some orange juice,
Absolutely.
or some salt on some dates works really good too.
Mhm.
But I like to take like a gram of sodium in the mornings with 8 to 16 ounces of water. Like for example, milk is more hydrating than water. There's a chart of like all the most hydrating beverages. I think milk ranks pretty high because solute is what hydrates you.
Mhm.
Like so you want more things in your liquids to absorb more of that liquid. Otherwise, it just runs through you. So electrolytes are going to be key. Like I've had thousands of people message me that thanks to the content, I had now confessed Ramadan without migraines.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. Like, yeah, I mean, people are really getting into fasting, and I tell people like just try it with our electrolytes. Try even doing a fast, maybe a little bone broth, something like that.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get more minerals, and you're gonna feel way better.
Mhm.
And like you just start to get these headaches when you become slightly dehydrated.
Yep.
And then people, like you're saying, they just go and they just chug a bunch of water with no minerals in there, and yeah, you just piss it all out.
It just gets worse. And then they have too much salt at their breakfast at night. And then there's just a cycle of peeing all night long. It's just a headache. And they become seed oil factories because they eat all the fried foods at night. And then as they're fasting, they're breaking down the seed oils. It's a long conversation.
Yeah.
But dude, there's some electrolytes in the morning with some extended release caffeines. There's a bunch of them in Amazon.
Yeah.
That you could use, and some healthy fruit with some milk is great for hydration.
Yeah.
Like watermelon, milk, electrolytes, bam, you're good.
Okay, guys, there you go. Lock in for Ramadan.
Yeah.
Let me know any questions you have below because we're going to try to do this. I mean, I think we should do it once a month. There's endless topics
do it,
in
man.
health. And then, like, are you ever someday just going to, like, open up, like, your own, like, practice?
So I have an unofficial, unannounced, let's say, practice that I take people on. But we're going to launch a more formal
nice
offering for people.
Yeah, I think
to
you
kind of
should
fun.
because it's like, dude, there's not enough good functional medicine docs out there. There's not enough people that are just like, you have to be obsessed.
Yep.
At the end of the day, because like, like you went to medical school.
Yes.
Okay. And so like from there,
I hope so. Yeah.
you're like, ChatGPT, dog.
Yeah.
But from there, it's like, you know so much about this stuff because you're obsessed.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. And you have to have that in your life where you're like, oh, I like powerlifting, I like deadlifting a lot. And then you're like looking at all these peptides, and then you have all the knowledge from medical school, but now you're able to actually interpret stuff. No one's educating you on peptides in medical school.
Nope.
No one's educating you on the intricacies of heart health and seed oils and diet in medical school. It's not happening. And so like your obsession with it is very refreshing. And the same thing like with any like Dr. Justin Vanier, just have an obsession with it. And so like I always hope that those folks can kind of go like see people one-on-one, change people's life because it does.
And we're trying to create some offerings for people like to scale this, because the problem is like, let's say people want to see me, I can only see a certain amount of people. We have some things we're working on in the background to make it so that we can empower the person to make the best decisions around their health with lab work, with all these things. I think that's the future.
Like
is
a tiered system. Like we had the guy who started a superpower in here, and superpower, like
good stuff.
Yeah, and it's like these things of like you can get lab work, and then like there's just different ways you can go about it. If you want to spend $500 a year, like here's kind of the thing you can kind of get going. Like if you want to get connected to a functional medicine doctor, you want to drop a couple grand, like you can go do that. And yeah, I think that's really the future of medicine, because Lord knows, like when you go into the doctor right now, it's just not. Unless you're messed up, like you're saying, if you're a healthy 25-year-old watching this, you're like, I feel pretty good. I want to feel even better. They don't have anything for you.
No, because the system is not designed for that. And I think that what's going to have to happen is primary care is going to have to split. There's going to have to be like performance medicine and pathological, like primary care doctor you go to when you have pneumonia. Like two separate fields, because there's so much to learn here and so much to learn here. And like for me, I'm obsessed, so I can learn about both of them, right?
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to do that. So then there's going to have to split. There's going to be a doctor you go see to perform better and live better, and there's going to be a doctor you see when you're sick. And that's a new field that people call it anti-aging, longevity medicine, but that's just an excuse to charge people $50,000 a year for a doctor. But I think there's going to be that. But realistically, I think that the information's out there. You have AI chatbots. You need to learn about your health. If you want to live in the modern 2026 world, you can't afford to be health illiterate. You must learn. There's good content. There's good influencers out there. There's ChatGPT. It's hard to navigate all the confusion, but there's certain things that everyone kind of agrees upon. And then the things people disagree upon are not even the biggest needle movers.
No. That's people ask me about supplements. I'm like, let's talk. If you're sleeping well, you're eating well, you're doing the basic stuff, like sure, let's talk supplements. But if you're not doing that, there's no supplement that's going to counteract those things. Like dial in the basics. And if you truly don't have the basics dialed in, then you shouldn't even look towards any of this. Like you don't need to take a peptide, guys, if you aren't sleeping well. Like dial that in. Like if you're, playing Call of Duty at 3 a.m. and you had an energy drink at 11, you don't need a peptide. Okay, you need something else. So you have a nonprofit that you work with that you started.
It started. So
Nice.
It started on the DMs on Instagram. It's called Gaza Health, GXZAHEALTH. I'm bad at spelling, guys. We do telemedicine. We have the largest telemedicine practice that sees patients in Gaza. So 2 weeks after the war started, we started seeing patients. It was me, my co-founder. We started seeing patients ourselves, and we recruited doctors across the world. We have hundreds of doctors across the world that can connect with patients over sometimes WhatsApp or whatever contact they can get. And then if the doctor sees the patient, they prescribe them some kind of medication, because the doctors there were overwhelmed with all the traumatic injuries and all the things. But we wanted to take care of the diabetics and the hypertensives and the cardiac disease and all these other things that now people aren't going to get their meds. So we're able to connect them with a cardiologist or a primary care doctor or whatever doctor they may be. And then if they need a medication, we'll actually purchase the medication for them in Gaza. When the border with Egypt was open, we would get medications in Egypt.
How were they? Did you have any issues getting people medication there?
That's been, supply chain's been the hardest part of this whole thing. At one point we got hemophilia factor 9 medication smuggled across the border from Egypt for a patient. But now
seems like a war crime of some sort there.
I know.
So people can't get their meds, so you guys help them get meds.
So there's meds in Gaza. The problem is there's hoarding, and people are taking advantage of the situations. The med prices are so expensive. So now we'll actually just purchase the medication for them. And we're purchasing over $50,000 worth of meds every month for patients in Gaza now. We're seeing I think 1,000, 2,000 patients a month, all asynchronously or through WhatsApp call, and we're making our own little EMR platforms so that patients can see that, because even though the war is over, not really over, people are still intense and they don't have an infrastructure. This is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years at least, if not more, for them. So we want them to have basic medical care that they can access.
That's amazing, bro. It's amazing you spend your time doing that. You don't have a lot of free time, and you spend some free time doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, our team is phenomenal. The moment we launched it, volunteers from around the world, hey, we want to help any way we can do. We got top doctors that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars working for free for us. It was very exciting. So shout out to our team and all our volunteers to do that. We paused everything. I was making content, doing all this health optimization, building apps, but I was like, you know what? We focused on this for the last 2 years. Now we've hired all the best people in the right spots to kind of run this, because we know they're not going to be back to normal for a while. So we want to have access to medical care for people.
Absolutely. And how can people donate?
So if they go to Gaza Health on Instagram, they can look up our website, and there's a donation link there, GXZAHEALTH. And they can sponsor a patient. It costs $50 to $60 to get a patient their medications. So we would appreciate that.
Let's go. I'm going to go donate, guys. Guys, donate to stuff. We raise money for the orphanage down there in Mexico. Those kids are going to go train. You have some really cool things. It feels good. I was actually sitting in church this week, and the guy was talking about, when you do good things for people, there is a selfish aspect to it, but it's a good selfish aspect. It feels good.
Yeah.
It literally makes you happy. So, go do something nice for somebody today. Take care of your health. Love y'all. Peace.